70 Scuttle Hole.
Yep.
This is those two adjacent parcels on Scuttle Hole Road, just south of the railroad, that are being developed.
Does Anthony can pull them up?
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah.
70 and 80 Scuttle Hole
Oh,
Road.
yes, where
Montauk
the-
Highway to the
The
south.
school.
Yeah, it's just the
Yep.
one building is
Great
the,
contractor and school.
no, not special trade. One is the office.
Oh, I thought it was off, I guess for
Yeah.
a landscape company.
Landscape
That's
design company.
an affordable unit.
Affordable unit
And a school.
above, and then the school service with the
Right.
2 units above.
And this action is just to coordinate
Coordinate
secret?
SECRA, yeah.
Okay.
So it was previously deemed incomplete back in April. They've met all the submission requirements, one of which was a determination letter from Sean McDermott, so they didn't have to go to the ZBA. So they're complete, and because they're using, they're proposing offsetting density, sanitary flow, density credits, and for the purposes of affordable housing, I'm recommending we coordinate with the county. I don't know if you have any, if you want to see the plan or anything, but that's everything I have.
I think the only involved agencies.
County
Yeah,
and,
just the county. I mean, Montauk Highway's a little ways away. It's a little over 540 feet away. So I just have it with the county. It is an unlisted action, so we could either do coordinated or uncoordinated, but for that reason, I think we should do coordinated. You're thinking of the
It is
DOT?
unlisted. I was
No.
thinking the DOT. Is it
I
right
had it
by
in
the train tracks?
Well, it's south of the train tracks and just north of
It's cool.
Montauk Highway. I had it in the pre-submission report that we would refer it to the DOT when it's in fact fully complete and SECRA's been done. But you're thinking we should coordinate with?
Is coordination optional?
It is.
Okay.
It backs up to the train tracks.
Yeah, the triangular
The
and
MTA.
the
Not,
We
I'm
don't
not saying
coordinate with the-
coordinating,
Oh, yeah.
but as far as notifying them of it.
yeah, we can refer it to the MTA.
So we'd have some
I mean, unless there's
referrals.
a
Yeah, we could
pressing
do-
need, I don't know that we
You don't
typically
know that we
do.
need to coordinate?
This will take
coordinate.
time. Yeah, if it's unlisted and we've had really hashed it
Yeah,
and rehashed it.
Initially, I was considering that. We reviewed it a little further internally.
Mhm.
And because of the county, they will likely not take lead, but maybe just the formality of coordinating with them. We don't.
They seem to want to get the ball, the applicants
Yeah.
seem to get the
Yeah.
ball rolling.
I don't
The
think-
applicant, I mean, I don't know if we could start the discussion today. The applicant couldn't be here today.
Mhm.
They were under the understanding that we'd be coordinating.
And the
Well,
cap,
why don't we just,
Well, we
why
can-
don't we review it briefly? Not coordinated. I don't think we need to do that.
No,
I
mean,
agree.
Just so the board knows,
Yes.
you could certainly today, if you want to, the action could be, it's an unlisted action, and you could do an uncoordinated review and establish yourselves as lead agency, and then do your secret determination at whatever meeting.
Sounds good.
That's an option.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, we could do that
Yeah.
on June 26th and yeah, get everything going and even deem it.
Well, can we do that now?
Yeah, you can establish yourself as a.
We're establishing ourselves as lead
So
agency.
doing
An
uncoordinated.
uncoordinated
establishing
review,
as lead
establishing
agency.
the planning board is the lead agency. And
And that's your action, and then you
That-
can do your secret.
that's our
We could do
action today, and we'll do
secret.
secret at the
Okay.
next session.
I'll revisit I'll refine the
Will you
resolution.
make up a resolution?
Yeah, I think I
to
already
that
have
I'll
that
move that.
drafted.
Okay.
You want me to bring it up?
Motion,
or-
motion by
move it right now.
Dennis. We'll move it. Motion by
Second.
Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 7 in favor.
So that's established as lead agency.
Yeah.
And it's unlisted, so no coordination necessary.
Required, no?
Is there coverage downstairs now?
Yeah, there will be.
There will be.
Printer's going
down.
Okay,
Run.
so can we move into Teresa? Okay, great.
Okay, so we had the public hearing for this application in May.
This is number 1, the Hangar Charlie pre-app.
Randy, do you have a copy of this?
Yes, we
Thank
do.
you.
Thank you.
So there you go.
Thank you.
So this is just the draft report report. We're still waiting for some comments from various, referrals that we had sent. The action deadline is the next meeting, so I just wanted to bring this before you so that you had an opportunity to weigh in, because some of the referrals had some recommendations which you might want to take a look at. And if Wayne and Mark want to come up, we can discuss the report. So, as a refresher, this is a parcel or several parcels that were designated a PDD under the town's own action. Part of the reason why they designated it as a PDD was to ensure that when it was redeveloped, it was cleaned up, because it has had some activities on there which may have been environmentally incompatible. And what the applicant is now doing, we had reviewed this initially last year for pre-submission conference for the car club. Now this is a second phase, and this is for subdivision. And when we've gotten through this process, the applicant will submit both the formal site plan application and a preliminary site plan subdivision application, and we will coordinate our secret review here all at once, because it is it's a type 1 action pursuant to SECRA, so we need to look at both aspects of this application together.
May I, the car club, that application by itself that we saw earlier has not changed, it's just that we've added the.
Correct.
Okay,
For the purpose of this application, all we did is put the footprint of the building on the subdivision, and we did calculations as far as lot area and lot coverage and sewage flow to assure that the subdivision could take place, but the details of the site plan are still in the works, and you'll see that with the next application.
That's correct. Now, this is again just so that we get through the pre-app stage, and then it will all be coordinated under preliminary subdivision, because this is a major subdivision. It's 10 residential lots, 1 commercial, quote unquote, commercial recreational lot, open space, and so we do have to look at it all together as one application, one process, both the site plan and the preliminary subdivision.
good.
The architecture of the buildings has been
Can
changed
you
to
both
make it more.
identify yourselves to the record?
Oh, Mark Hissey, Hangar Charlie.
And Wayne Bruin, O'Shea Marcinsick and Bruin for the applicant.
So again,
And just a follow-up, we have been doing a number of things. From the beginning, as Teresa indicated, one of the conditions of the PDD is that the environmental issues be remediated. We have had our environmental consultants prepare a plan. They've done investigations, prepare a plan, and it's been submitted and pending in front of the DEC.
Good.
We're waiting for their review and response accordingly. And we hope to have that soon, and that will be part of our
Part of secret.
next submission, correct?
Good.
The other things we have done is we met with the Architectural Review Board. As Mark said, there's been changes there. Originally, we were proposing a pickleball. Everybody said a dog park is more appropriate. We've incorporated that. There were encroachments by the neighbors. They have been actively responding. For example, Chesterfield actually had been using portions of the property, and they had roads on our portions of the property, and they have actually gone and taken care of that, and fencing has been
They've
put up.
actually proved to be a wonderful neighbor.
Good.
Yeah, they're really, really good. We fenced it off and they remediated as best they could what they had been
Disturbed.
using for so long.
So they were all things that were identified in the pre-submission report
From
on the
the
site
early-
plan,
the
which we've been
early one.
undertaking to get resolved. And so
So you're
there
ahead of
have
the,
been
you're
some
ahead of the
changes
game.
as we're going, but for the purpose of this pre-submission on the subdivision, the footprint is shown, and we did all the calculations as the staff had asked us to. Particular lot coverage, sewage flow, and other matters to make sure that this part of the subdivision could work with the car club portion.
exactly. So just to go through my draft report, again, it's a type 1 action. We have to coordinate review. It's a planned development district, so we have some flexibility here on how we design it. There are some design requirements under the PDD code things like setback, buffer setbacks, things of that nature. It's a major subdivision since it's 11 lots, so we do need to go through preliminary subdivision review. The park requirement for the parcel would require, I forget exactly how much it is, but the proposed park parcel 2, which is where the applicant intends to put the dog park, is 88,000 square feet, which would comply with the park requirements. The one concern, obviously, is whether or not the town board would accept the dog park. So when we start coordinating our review, we would refer it to the town board for acceptance of said dog park. Again, there was a public hearing in May. And I believe it was Chesterfield that showed up, and he just had some concerns. Just wanted to make the applicant aware that there, wasn't a pre-existing non-conforming industrial use at the adjacent site, so that they should be aware of that when they are proceeding. And then we have some comments with respect to the fire marshal's office. Basically. Compliance with town code driveway requirements and street requirements. The West Hampton Beach Fire District did submit extensive comments, actually. Anthony, in there is 2 JPEGs. I already pulled them up, if you could pull them up. No, I'm sorry, PDF, the PDF. Yeah. So there were 3 plans that were submitted as part of the required application. The yield plan, the standard plan, and the PDD plan. And the fire district offered comments with respect to each of those plans. And as you can see here where there's the little flags, those are the locations that they are recommending the fire hydrants. So dependent on which plan we proceed with, those are the recommended fire hydrant locations.
So 1 up at the club and 3 in the subdivision.
That is yes, 1 at the club and 3 along the residential lots, and then connecting obviously to the existing water main in the road, the existing road.
So county water is accessible from
Correct.
this property.
Existing
Yes,
street.
it exists. So that's that issue. We're still waiting on comments from the engineering division. The conservation board indicated that the parcel was historically cleared in mind, that the areas have started to seed over. They are basically recommending that that clearing restrictions be established on the residential lots consistent with the calculations in Chapter 330 for clearance of natural vegetation, similar to those in the APOD.
Okay.
So they are recommending,
50%.
it's based on lot size.
Yeah, and these are.
So I
are
believe
these-
20,000 square feet is 50%, but I'd have to double check.
40,000 is 50%. I just want to point out that the PDD requires the 60-foot buffers, which is not, normal for this type of development. So there will be preservation of a portion of the property. The other thing is the quality of the vegetation. I'm sure we could look into it. The other factor that we have to be mindful of is, and I mentioned this to you before, is the remediation plan. There are various spots that were just piles of debris dumped on the property, and it's been so long that there's vegetation that's growing out of those piles. So all of those areas are actually going to be cleared, and we'll identify those, and to the extent we hear this recommendation, but I think we're going to need to look at how that could be implemented.
I don't disagree. Obviously, part of the problem is going to be remediation of, of the site. When they come in with their remediation plan, I'm assuming that it will include areas that need to be cleared for that purpose. And the establishment of clearing restrictions could be further explored during the preliminary.
For instance, when I met with the DEC, there was a whole area over on the east side of the property where she was very firm and matter of fact about it and just said, I want this off Long Island. And
How do you really feel?
I know, really. Don't beat around the bush, please. And then the other area, they said there could be some beneficial use by processing it on site. But this other area, it's the piles are pretty massive actually, and the bases of the trees are actually above your head.
Is it construction debris or?
Yeah.
or,
Yeah,
uh,
it's
Paving
It was a-
They were
stuff?
bringing it out
From
from New York
somewhere else.
City.
Yeah.
It has mixed stuff in it, not just.
I mean,
But no barrels or any?
No, there's
Not at
nothing
all.
like that. It's sort of ground up brick and concrete and stuff like that.
the standard recommendation with the Conservation Board, it has to be looked at after the remediation and stuff.
I mean, that would be part of the, but I did want to bring it to your attention because it is something they want to recommend.
The residential lots 1 acre in size, or are they?
1 acre.
1 acre.
Okay.
This Trails Advisory Board, I cannot speak this afternoon. The Trails Advisory Board had some recommendations also with respect to potential reconfiguration of the subdivision or to provide for trails. Anthony, if you could bring up those JPEGs, please. So they did make a recommendation that the lots be shifted to the west in order to create an open space linkage to the dog park from the rear trails existing on the site. And I did notify them that that might be somewhat difficult because there is a requirement for 60-foot side yard buffers. But we might be able to, accommodate their recommendations through a combination of slight modifications to the lots and establishment of covenanted buffers, which would allow for a trail potentially on those residential lots. So that's something that you need to consider and discuss. And I think I sent you these maps, but if not, I will resend them this afternoon. And so you can ruminate on that a little bit more and we can have a little bit more discussion next week or the next meeting. But I did notify them that this particular configuration may be difficult because there is the buffer requirement on the side yard property lines, which, if you shift the lots and you may change them a little bit, you may not have any building envelopes on those westerly lots. So that, that has to be considered as part of it. But they did make a good recommendation. Anthony, the other lot, the other one, thank you. Okay, so there are trails on the adjacent parcel that's owned by the town to the east. And the idea is that eventually there's a linkage between this particular lot through that parcel, through the open space on the adjacent parcel. We have an application that may or may not be pending on CVE, and then ideally with a connection to the Quogue Wildlife Refuge.
Teresa, I think I had mentioned that we need to see a map from the trails.
Yes, and that was
showing
one of
us linkage proposed, what they have, what they don't have, because otherwise we're working blind.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
And they did give us a map. It
Yeah,
just, I
Eric
think I
usually
closed it,
draws
so-
one.
It was the other one. I think I accidentally closed it.
No, it could have been me. I'm the one.
But either way, I'll email that to you as well so that you have an opportunity to review and consider and see what might make sense as maybe a balance between what the Trails Advisory Board is recommending and what the applicant would like to do. Perhaps a combination of maybe shifting slightly the lots and doing trail easements over the properties. So that's something to consider.
Can I ask a question? The lot that's just to the east, you said is owned by the town?
Former
That
land.
one.
It's a former landfill. It's a Superfund site, and their access.
Oh, not
to
the
town-
skinny one,
No, that's a salvage
part
yard.
of it?
No, that skinny lot is actually part of this project.
Okay, thank you.
That property there
It's an active Superfund site still, Wayne?
is, and their access, the town's access, is through the junkyard to the east.
Okay.
Through the junkyard.
Which is immediately south of the parcel.
Teresa, on the map,
Oh, I see, I see,
Right.
I see.
Yeah.
The car.
Teresa, on the map
That's
we're looking
pleasant.
at, it shows the trails going through the residential lots. Is that what exists today?
No, there are no trails through the residential lots at the moment, but they are recommending, if you look at the maps that we have online, there are trails in the rear portion of the lot. And they're just recommending a connection between the trail that goes on the town's part
Mm-hmm.
through their property. And then they would want to see it run down the side of the easterly lot line and connect to the dog park, which is not necessarily a bad thing, right? As long as the dogs are appropriately leashed, you can.
Is there a
easily walk.
is there a normal width for a trail easement? Because 60 seems excessive.
Well,
And the reason I raise this too is that I live right adjacent to that area there. And, you know, as far as I'm aware, there's very little pedestrian activity, if any. The main activity is dirt bikes, which are a huge nuisance in that area.
right.
So you provide a 60-foot highway for dirt bikes to keep using that. It's
No,
going
no,
to be
no.
an issue.
The trail easement itself would not necessarily be 60 feet, right? But the town code for the PDD states that the development must be set back 50 feet.
No, I understand that. but
Right, so I'm not 50 feet, 60 feet.
yeah.
So again, so the map shows, the subdivision map shows that 60-foot buffer, so that it's established that this is area that they're gonna leave as buffer, and then all of the development will occur in, you know, outside of those buffers. What I'm suggesting is a combination of potentially, you know, the buffer, and within the buffer, a trail easement. Trails don't have to be more than like 4 or 5 feet, right, in width. So a trail easement may be like 10 feet wide within the context of the existing buffer. You know, whether we could write the buffers so that they allow for a trail and access through the trail. That's
That
something
buffer,
that
that buffer would be a buffer on private property, though. So now you're putting a
right,
trail
but you
easement.
can do trail
across
easements on
property.
private properties, right, Christine? Right. So that's, again, something, I'll send you the maps again in case I didn't, and then you can consider it and we can have further discussion.
And you'll get us a map of the whole
Yes.
trails
The
plan.
size of the buffers are very important to us.
Sure.
You know, it's, you know, because of the uses on either side.
Yeah,
You know, we want to make these desirable for people, but also on this area, you know, we're talking about cars that are going to be costing millions of dollars, and to have a place that's kicking up tons of dust and everything next door, I want to have plenty of trees there to protect us.
sure.
I don't know that our board is embracing putting trails on private 1-acre lots. The practicalities, I mean, technically the legalities, you record legal instruments and you have the trail, but the practicalities, here come the fences, here come
No, I
the other dogs
understand.
that are in their invisible
Right.
fences
And
attacking
again,
the dogs.
I'm bringing you the recommendations of
Yeah,
the trail
got it.
board, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna, I thought I sent you the maps, but if I didn't, I'm gonna send them again. Okay, I didn't. I'll send them so that we can consider it further and have a further discussion. But I did advise the trail board that there is a buffer requirement, so we can't shift the lots unduly, because at some point you impacted building envelopes on the subdivision.
Exactly.
When we talk about a buffer, usually we talk about a buffer that's already vegetated. Is this buffer one that can be planted? I heard you say we want a lot of trees.
It's going to need
A
to
lot
be.
of it is already wooded, but then there's portions that are impacted by the matters that will have to be remediated. So our expectation is we need to identify those first, and then, as was recommended in the site plan, we're gonna come back with a plan, a landscape plan with natural vegetation in those areas, particularly in the buffer that had to be disturbed.
And Teresa's provided me with a list of, you know, materials that's going to go in there in the re-veg areas, which I think you know I've done plenty of that.
Good, yes, you have.
Right. Okay, so the next set of comments we had were from the health department. These are generally their standard health department requirements. You know, apply for the subdivision through the health department and site plan through the health
Don't
department.
do anything until we tell you okay.
Exactly, pretty much. So again, the question is, which plan is preferred by the planning board, the standard plan or the PDD plan? Which,
Hasn't the PDD plan been the one that's developed?
that's the one that is the applicant's preferred plan, and is the one that results in the largest area of, I wouldn't say dedicated open space, but open space so again, you'll need to come up with whether or not you decide you want this preferred plan.
Have we seen another plan?
It's just the standard yield plan, and we have a yield map and then a standard subdivision plan that doesn't
PDD
include a
plan.
car club.
The PDD plan is consistent with the goals of the
Generally
town,
speaking,
open space.
yeah.
For
So
this area.
the
protection.
PDD again said for residential or recreational. So this is a combination of both.
Right. Well, I would think it's the PDD, and they're moving forward with this, so.
Okay, that's what I figured, but
Yeah.
I thought I'd just double check anyway.
Good, that's good.
Okay, so again, number 2 is gonna be discussed, it was a recommendation for natural vegetation protection, and we'll revise that to say to be considered further at the preliminary stage. After reviewing the remediation plan.
So we're revising number 2 because we're not establishing clearing limits at this time.
Correct. And says applicant shall demonstrate compliance with fire marshal's comments. It's gonna require coordinated review, compliance with the health department. Consistent with the pre-submission conference and 33248F8, the applicant is will need to provide the remediation plan. It is within 3 miles of a documented northern long-eared bat summer occurrence, so there will be a window on when they'll be able to clear the lot for both the subdivision and development of the residential lots. Between the proposed residential subdivision and the car club, as well as the 2 other projects that we have recently approved or are in the process of reviewing in this immediate neighborhood, a traffic study needs to be submitted, which was identified under the pre-submission conference, and I believe they're working on. But I just needed to reiterate that. Again, the landscape and lighting plan needs to be submitted, consistent with the remediation plan and the site plan for the car club. These are similar comments that were provided during the pre-submission conference. We're gonna need a grading and drainage plan for both the road construction and for the construction of the park club. And then referrals upon submission of the preliminary site plan, preliminary subdivision formal site plan to the town board for the offer of dedication for the dog park, conservation board for buffers, ARB for the building, and of course, health department.
We just add on there the New York State DEC.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry, the remediation
And
plan.
in particular, in your recommendation, as I mentioned before, the DEC is very involved in that remediation plan. But they have jurisdiction not only on the remediation, but as you mentioned, in northern long-eared bat, as well as speedies with SWIP plans. So I coordinate with them as well.
And again, we're still waiting for some comments from other agencies that might be interested. As soon as I get them, I'll send them along. I'll send you those documents.
Besides the engineer, who else?
I think it was the CAC was the only one that we were missing. Let me just double check.
And the town engineer.
No, I mentioned the.
Yeah, well,
That's the one I remembered.
Yeah, it's the town engineer and the
And the
CAC. Oftentimes, we don't really hear back from the CAC, but still waiting from the town engineer. It takes some time, so.
It's usually captured in the public comments period.
Yeah, it's
That's
usually.
their window. I don't think they have any preferential.
I mean, it's not like at the end of the day, he's not gonna get another crack at it when we have preliminary. So we do have an action deadline that's set for next meeting. So I'll make these changes and I'll send you the documents and we can have a further discussion on it at the next meeting, but hopefully it'll be a short discussion.
Yeah, well, we've cleaned up a lot in your working way, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
you.
very much.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Teresa.
Thanks. Good to see you.
Okay, we're moving on. Anthony, are you ready for Kings Lane Estates? Anthony, tell us what's off the agenda so we know ahead of time.
Well, I think some of them are gonna be extensions, actually, so when I get to
Okay,
them,
all right.
Everybody remembers from the property up there, Kings Lane Estates. There you go. For a reminder, we had a standard plan showing 4 lots with a subdivision road. You see you have that 50-foot wide strip that connects to the body of the property, comes right at the intersection there of Kings Lane and North Sea Mecox Road. So this one's just a standard plan conforming lots. And then this was a cluster plan showing 35%. This is in the agricultural overlay district, not the aquifer. So technically, the requirements are to preserve 35% of the prime ag soils, but you'll see in my report, the site that any preservation here is for natural vegetation and not really for farm purposes.
How
So
wide is that strip, Anthony?
in the back there is the open space.
Yeah.
This is the cluster plan.
What's
So
the
there's no
measurement?
four lots.
So what is it, percentage?
It's 35%, and it's 3 point something acres, 3 and change though.
Nice. Is that your preferred plan?
The preferred,
Cluster?
the applicant's preferred plan is the standard plan.
Standard.
But we are accepting of PRD.
You are, okay.
Ultimately, we're gonna ask you for some time to go over this with the client. We just got the
Okay.
draft report, and we'll go over these issues with them. I understand.
Let me have your name for the record, please, Dave Martin.
Maggie Vavrica.
Maggie,
Vavrica, Vavrica.
Maggie's the engineer.
The third option is a hybrid is to go with the standard plan but incorporate the open space. As you know, this isn't in the APOD, it's not subject to clearing. A lot of the commentary we've heard is from adjoining neighbors concerned about vegetated buffers, so it might be more productive to create corridors, vegetated. I'm taking the stealing your thunder.
You'll see when we get to,
Okay.
no, Dennis.
Shut up, Dennis.
preempted.
Sorry.
right.
Not at all. Just so everybody knows here, so, so here, the two big issues on this particular slide, this is if you didn't have this strip here, this is a rectangular piece of property, so it's easy to lay out. The big issues here is are you gonna cluster, or are we gonna do buffers and clearing restrictions? There might be a number of ways to protect vegetation. And then, of course, the access issue, which is really the big issue here. This, just so the board, by way of history, the board had looked at a major subdivision involving both of these properties, this one up here and this one down here, back in the 90s, I believe. And at that time, they didn't get past the preliminary. The requirement was for some type of traffic analysis to look at the access from both points. But it didn't go anywhere from there. So anyway, we have a pre-app report. I'm going to go through it. We just described the property. The action is for a 4-lot plan. They submitted the standard plan and a PRD plan. Let's go to page 2. Performance with the comprehensive plan. There are no specific zoning or land use recommendations pertaining to this property, but I think there are 2 general elements of the comp plan that warrant consideration. And one is being balancing, economic growth, development with environmental protection. Although it's not located to adjacent open space, there may be a reason why we want to do a cluster here, or as Dennis is suggesting, looking at alternative plans that might create buffers.
Is it a fully wooded parcel? Looks to be.
It was, look, it was farmed, at one point, and this is, successional vegetation.
The northern end is still.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've saying here that it's revegetating back, so that's clear. And 2 is traffic safety and traffic calming. So again, the concern, and this was raised previously, you have this intersection here, which the property is located, and sort of this bend in the road with some potential site distance issues. Although I have been out there, they're not significantly drastic, admittedly, but it is sort of crazy little intersection there. We know that people traveling weird parts of the town to get somewhere. So.
It'd be nice to get I know Kings Lane is not heavily trafficked. North Sea Mecox, is that Edgewoods or North Sea Mecox?
North Sea Mecox.
Yeah, North Sea Mecox is heavily, so if somehow the access can come to Kings Lane, it's sort of a controlled stop sign situation where vehicles have to first stop, make a left, and then negotiate their way onto North Sea, as opposed to everyone like blending in one spot.
Yeah, and there is which when I went out there I didn't realize there is a here, which does that does play into the discussion. I think that's important worth noting. So, so that's correct. Minor versus major. Interestingly enough, the proposal with the new road would be a major subdivision. The 4-lot PRD plan with just the flag lots would be a minor subdivision. This is a type 1 action because it's in the ag overlay district, so we're going to do a long EAF form with the final application. And I recommended, I say traffic analysis, what I say in here really was, there's no other alternative for access to this site. So really, it's got to be limited. We just want to look at, some issues. What's going on at this intersection? Do we locate the driveway? It just might be little nuanced things because we do have to provide access to the property.
Or design the driveway and access in such a way that maybe it's divided and the right hand this way.
I mean, there may be,
Some delineation in the road.
And that was part of what was said even back then was we just, some type of analysis, doesn't have to be a traffic impact report, that would be insane for 4 lots, but just some type of analysis to see if there's a design methodology that we could use to be as safe as possible.
Yeah, to not make it more dangerous.
Yeah.
Put a little island.
Yes, a little island of some kind, really designed that entranceway so that it's very specific and maybe some signs internally,
Yeah, for sure.
Beware, active road, slow down, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have these people that are just flying and then heading onto North Sea Road, right?
Yes.
So you want to.
So
Avoid that.
it actually comes out on Kings Lane, but maybe 50 feet from North Sea Road or 30 feet from North Sea Road or.
35, something like that.
Right.
In other words, swing it around so that it comes out. Which one is this? This one is, this is Kings.
Yeah,
So it would be better if it came out, Tom, on Kings, right?
yeah. Kings is a
Oh,
collector's.
Over coming out on North Sea Mecox, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
right?
what I was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have the width there, right?
Definitely. Under park requirements, so the requirement would be 8,712 square feet for the 4-lot subdivision. I think in this case, we would just take the fee. We did have a public hearing and then a 10-day written comment period. There were limited comments and as Dennis said, the request for buffers and or open space preservation, concerns about access at the intersection there of Kings Lane and North Sea, traffic impacts and disappointment with the loss of an historic horse farm, but that's been gone for decades at this point. So, but it wasn't completely against the subdivision. The comments said buffers, something like that. Long Island Workforce Housing Act is not subject to. We do actually have the Southampton Town Engineer comments, so I'll get back to those at the end. They're not particularly significant. Conservation Board provided comments. Some of these are just general
They prefer the cluster.
Yeah, so well, they will always support the cluster plan, although not located in the area for protection. They're recommending clearing restrictions, which then goes to Dennis's point of their alternative to the cluster. Because there might be, if I'm being honest with the board and having this discussion with the board, there might be reason to look at an alternative like that, as opposed to a piece of open space that the town, it's not adjacent to anything. It doesn't, what would be the interest in the town taking it? So I think there, might be wiggle room to look at alternatives, and I think the applicant,
Right, with like a substantial buffer of some kind
buffers
to
and some
buffer
clear-
more
against those
corridors,
houses or corridors.
The Conservation Board.
Yeah.
Because at the enclave, we created these
Yes,
open
yeah.
space perimeter.
Wildlife and even
So
trails.
that's worth it. So that's Southampton Conservation Board. Office of Fire Prevention. So they're recommending the installation of fire hydrants and water mains. I can show the board here. My guess is you have water main right here at North Sea Mecox Road. It's also showing a hydrant at the corner here. So my guess is that the health department's probably going to require the extension of the water main anyway. The fire district recommends the installation of a water main as well. They say 12 inches down Kings. And the Trails Advisory Board didn't have any recommendations. So in terms of the planning board's recommendations, I just say the planning board is concerned with the potential traffic and safety issues, and then some type of, I say, traffic analysis, but I don't know if I want to call it a traffic analysis.
It's access and
safety
ingress.
analysis.
Yeah,
Access and
safety.
Access
access and safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way design.
Design
That makes more
analysis.
sense. And then, whatever design considerations, including potentially reducing the number of lots, that's.
Would this have gone to highway at this point, or It did go to the town
It did go to
engineer.
highway, yes.
It did go, and they didn't have any comments on this, okay.
Number two, while the planning board did not require the applicant to preserve the property, maybe there's some interest in CPF, maybe they want to go and look and see if there's opportunities there. We can't, mandate it, but I like to throw it in there to see if there's interest. I say that the planning board's preferred plan is the PRD plan that preserves the westerly portion of the property, and then I say in there, additional covenanted buffers and or clearing restrictions may be required within the residential lots to preserve additional vegetation and to screen the new homes from existing residential development. Based on this discussion, I'm sort of more inclined to say the planning board's preferred plan is the cluster plan, and then put something in here. The planning board, will entertain alternatives that preserve, corridors of, open space. I'd like to leave the window open for them. Based on.
But I mean, if there were some really good substantial buffers on either side where there are existing homes, then the development is sort of in the middle with open space, I mean, and more creative layout of some kind.
If we take, this map, there are properties, residential properties on all four sides.
Right.
So it would be, sort of keeping the outside of it.
As green as
Right.
possible,
as
yeah.
possible, and then,
Yeah.
That way you can clear inside.
Yeah.
So then, we'll keep it in there, and then in the alternative, so, the planning board, could look at a plan now, and we want to consider alternative open space layout that creates a perimeter.
Perfect.
Another concept to consider, just because, we're kind of ignoring the agricultural overlay district piece here. More and more we are seeing smaller, 1 to 2 acre plots that are incorporated into subdivisions and, maybe farmed as an accessory plot. So, for consideration, you could have the open space on the northerly part of the property cluster southerly and maintain access for potential future growing operation.
sort of flies in the face of trying to keep a buffer for all of the.
Yeah, it's competing priorities, right? Because it's what the planning consideration here primarily was agricultural overlay district, right? So I think it's important that we at least discuss that and then, evaluate
At the
what
public
other
hearing,
options are available.
and through this process, we got a lot of phone calls about it and the buffers, and I think you remember, I believe it was this neighbor who came. And was very, very interested in the buffer, and that seems to be, at least from the public standpoint, what they're looking for.
Right, and oftentimes the public and the planning standpoint compete, right? Because what someone's personal experience is versus the overlay districts and the comprehensive plan that was put in place for the town are competing. So I think it's just important to incorporate that into the report and part of our discussion.
I agree with that. Only because if the applicant wasn't here right now and they wanted to go in there and clear that entire property and farm it, they would be able to do it. No problem.
Because it's ag overlay.
Looking at potential alternative agricultural preservation is certainly on the table. That there's prime ag soil, so that's, we can certainly.
Can you
That's the
incorporate
reason
that
for
in
the overlay.
report?
But here you have competing interests.
Yeah, for sure.
The desire, public community desire to preserve vegetation and buffers as opposed to the viability of a small agricultural parcel not linked to any other agriculture. It's something our board has to weigh. The overlay districts are broad brush, typically broad brush, covering hundreds of acres without looking at specific parcels. That's our role here, to look at the parcel.
Right,
But
and I'm not
but it's-
suggesting or advocating that that is where the final decision will land, but I think we can't be,
Can't throw it
throw a
out.
blind eye to that it is in that district.
The applicant always has
So,
our role here is to tell him how to draw his map.
so we make a compromise and say they should have a community garden. These people, these 4 homes should have a
Well,
community
we
garden.
can tell the applicant in the
in the
report
middle.
that they have the option, they are in the ag overlay district, they have the option to retain an agricultural parcel should they so desire.
Suitable
You know,
for the people. Sometimes these 4-lot subdivisions, they're all separate, even though they're neighbors. There's nothing that makes it neighborly. I know it's the Hamptons and you keep your privet hedges 30 feet high, but a community garden is kind of a nice thing to share.
And we do have
Food with-
community gardens in the
Yeah.
Hamptons.
Yeah, not enough. Good
I'm
point,
sorry,
Kate.
But I think it's worth noting then. and you're right,
Absolutely.
you're right, Dennis. Like I said, as I said in the report here, in my opinion, the preservation efforts for this property is to protect, to create buffers and because I think that's at the end of the day what the better design is, but I think because it is in the ag overlay, that option is available, but yeah.
All this, sure.
Town engineer comments have been received. I'll just quickly go through them. About monuments, 3-inch drainage for rainfall. There are steep slopes potentially on this property, so they just want them noted at their northeast corner, but I do note in this report.
Where are they?
It's northeast corner.
And that's the entrance too, right?
Yeah.
Well, we say in here depict the slopes of 20% or greater. I'll get to that, so we do ask for the slopes. There's some encroachments, fences, and gates on Kings Lane that he's recommending get removed. And then he just notes on the plan with the road, that requires a type C cul-de-sac. So I'll incorporate the engineer's comments into the.
And nothing about the intersection. Okay.
Depict the water main extension and note fire protection infrastructure on the map. Show adjacent wells and the required separation distances. That's going to be required for the health department anyway. The submission of a common driveway and utility easement, if that's the direction we would go. And frankly, I probably wouldn't want to see, regardless of what design, a full-blown road here. It just doesn't make any sense. So I think a common driveway, regardless, is what we would require. And it also then keeps it as a minor subdivision. And then depict slopes of 20% or greater.
Anthony, go ahead.
Just the number 7, submission of a common driveway and utility easement. A common driveway incorporating access management considerations, monuments, whatever that word, design. Okay, can you, so that we remember that when we go back. And we have the engineer here, so that's good.
My only comment is under recommendations, item 2, it might be better to pull that out, make it a separate line, stating that as a recommendation, we're essentially, I don't think it's a good idea that as a recommendation, go talk to the CPF, but we could take it out and put it on a separate line. The CPF, this might be an area, prior to recommendations, as opposed to having it as a recommendation.
I understand.
Is this on the list, this property?
Well, technically, everything's on the list.
Where they actually do have.
There's
the
not
list.
a
Really, they
left,
do?
there is,
Where
yeah.
they differentiate. Why?
Yeah, it is on the list.
Yeah,
Because it's almost 9 acres.
so we could state it
Of
as a
land.
finding.
And
As
there
opposed to
are
say, go-
close by other fields.
I'm not comfortable, I'm sure Christine is as a recommendation, telling an applicant, go talk to CPF. It's not our role.
You have to be a willing seller.
Exactly.
Yeah, I understand that. So I could just note then that
Yeah,
it's
in the
CPF,
text in the body.
priority piece, and that could be noted
Right.
as.
You can mention it as opposed to a recommendation.
Can you send us a revised, Anthony?
Yes.
Any other thing?
I think we have a good idea of the hybrid that you mentioned.
Yeah.
We'd like to come back
Yeah.
with that, with a plan that shows it and have the opportunity to talk to the client.
Creative, you know?
Colors always worked. That green like
got
in
that,
her
Maggie?
outfit.
Yeah.
Do you want me then, Dave, do you want to hold off on adopting it, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then maybe you could do just a tissue overlay about that common driveway coming in, how you might want to turn it, curve it to come out on Kings, and
Okay, yes.
maybe divide it so that that you can manage
Right.
the
Yeah,
access there.
traffic flow.
Well,
Okay.
we're still going to go through preliminary. You sure you don't want us to adopt this report? Because that allows you to come in with the alternative that's mentioned here. It's up to you. I mean,
What do we take to the health department? That's really, I think.
Yeah, well, why don't you?
probably
I would
that.
wait. Let them
Yeah,
wait. They want
okay.
to.
It's probably going to be that map with some showing
Do
us
your
numbers.
revisions.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just, then,
2 weeks.
About
Till when? Because
2 weeks. We get the next meeting.
26.
Yeah, we'll get guys.
Kate has a question, Anthony.
I have a question about your comment, Dennis, about making it a recommendation or not making it a recommendation. Because if it's in the agricultural protection overlay district and it's also a priority parcel listed, then I think it's our obligation as part of the planning process to include it as a recommendation that they
You go to
and
the
speak.
CPF?
So can you just explain it a little bit more so that I feel comfortable
I mean,
with that?
Basically, the
course.
discussion is whether we should have as part of a recommendation, telling the applicant, by the way, go to the CPF and as opposed to mentioning it in the body of the text that it is private.
Decided to do it in the body of the text.
Okay,
That's what I
I
thought.
just, yeah, I was just
It's more a
wondering
I
what
think
the
it's more
reasoning.
Because it's
legal
a
procedural.
separation from, it's like we're almost like holding something over their heads, like go over there and see if they'll purchase it from you.
I understand,
So
yeah.
it's like a, just
We're not
a
obligated.
steer away from doing
And
it.
it's stuff
Right.
that's stuff that gets picked up by a litigant.
But it will be
Potentially.
stated because it's important.
Yeah, we're gonna move that into the body.
Yeah, in this case, because there is a good reason for-
That's town information.
I mean, there's no linkage between this parcel and any of the other ag parcels, is there,
No.
from what I'm looking at?
No.
The way it's been developed. I mean, there's some farm fields east and west, but
But you look at like the Green Thumb, the Halsey family,
Yeah.
all of their farmland is not next to each other. They have fields that are close by, and so, just
yes, they rent
that's where
other
I'm
fields.
pushing on
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
There are other fields that are close by that it could be viable, and it has been, so thank you for
If we could
including it.
encourage community farms, we might have better luck
That was
with this
DeWild's
particular
farm,
one.
right?
Because it's-
Going
They've
back,
got 4
showing our
lots,
age,
you know.
Rooney.
So then I guess that Dave was saying, then our action would be the extension of the action deadline till
To-
26th.
June 26th.
I'll move it.
Second.
Motion by Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor.
Thank you. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
June 26th,
Thanks.
thanks. We're counting on you. Pressure.
Creative.
Be creative, that's right. Anthony Jane Frith? Hi, Karen, how are you? We'll get rid of this in a minute.
And Jim Walker,
Jim, how are
Bill Martin
you?
brought that.
and we're very excited. It's been a-
easel, Dennis, if
You
you
brought
want.
the easel.
Yes.
So in case
Say.
you wanna see the plans, if you don't
Are you
want.
Digital
gonna sell
age.
us, can you sell us the easel at the end of the day?
Ask my
Leave it
boss
here.
about that.
You weren't here last night, Katie, so there had been, subsequent to the many discussions that we had about
Okay,
this.
yeah.
How do we do that?
To show off the easel.
So, there had been a meeting, applicant, Janice's office, affordable housing director, and Janice Penland from preservation, so everybody's on the table. Basically, the gist of it is, this, the 2 back lots which were amended and everything are CPF lots. Those lots, CPF indicated they were willing to purchase, and those are gonna come off the table. The 2 affordable units, we reduced the density of the plan ultimately. The 2 affordable units are going to be, the development rights are gonna be transferred off the site to a town project that's happening.
In the
So-
area.
In the area.
Yes.
So those 2 lots then become part of the open space. Then what's left then, Kate, is the 3 lots for the 3 existing residences,
Got it.
and then 2 new lots on the front, and then everything else gets preserved.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good plan.
Is this a town project?
It's a good plan.
It's taking a
across the
long
road.
green. It's taking a long time, but
right
it's
by, where the
it's a good
town,
plan.
Senior center is.
Yes.
Oh,
it's down
okay.
They
there
wanna
Oh,
where it's pretty
rebuild all of
close.
that and tie it into the
Oh, good.
childcare center,
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's in the same
Same,
school.
okay.
district.
same area.
Looking at this for a while.
Yes, yeah, like years.
So anyhow, it's great to be here.
And it's a really good result.
Yes.
This is a very good
Because we're a
result.
long time in the
But it's-
DEC, so, you know,
Sometimes when we time, we do get something really good.
it's good.
Like the easel, Jim.
All the DEC directives are incorporated into the
Yes.
Yeah.
lots.
Yeah, and so also, Kate, what you're looking at is part of their DEC approval includes the
Yes.
wetlands, and the restoration for the habitat for the tiger salamander.
Great.
So I just gave the board two, we can use them in conjunction, the part two, because right now we're gonna do the secret determination as one action, then the completeness. So I gave you both, so you could use the part two and the part three in conjunction. So let's just go through the impacts. The impacts on land, there will be impacts associated with this project, but the purchase of 2 community preservation lots and the transfer of the workforce housing lots to an off-site location will result in only 2 additional residential lots, with the 3 other lots occupied, the 3 occupied by 3 single-family.
So can I just interrupt so I can follow you?
Yeah.
So the yes, then you want us to look at your
Yeah, if you look.
declaration?
Yeah, what I do is.
That's the language, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the language of what? The first paragraph?
Yeah, if you look in the body here, it's pretty small.
Yeah.
You'll see it in there. So yes, that addresses that. Impact on geological features, this is talking about cliffs, dunes, mountains and caves, so it's not applicable. Impacts on surface water, I did say yes in here. There is some standing water on this property at times, so I did acknowledge that. And in response on the part 3, you'll see in that second paragraph, the site contains significant wetlands, including areas of standing water. However, the overwhelming majority of the property is being preserved, and the new density has been limited to 2 new dwelling units. The New York State DEC has approved the subdivision map, as included wetlands and habitat restoration as part of their approval. Then the next impacts on groundwater, again, I said yes here, small impacts. And they say the impacts on groundwater are minimal, as the existing and proposed residences will be serviced with IA innovative sanitary systems. And then there's no anticipated flooding issues and no anticipated impacts on air quality. Impacts on animals and plants, I do say yes. New development will have impacts on plants and animals, as the property contains very sensitive animals, wetlands, and potential breeding ground for tiger salamander. However, by reducing the density with the CPF purchase and the transfer of the workforce housing units, most of the property is being preserved and only 2 new lots are being created. The other 3 lots are for existing development. And then again, I say the DEC has approved the subdivision subject to the wetlands and tiger salamander restoration. I think that's important. Impacts on agricultural resources. I do say, although located in the ag overlay district, the property is not viable for cultivation, and preservation efforts are entirely focused on wetlands and habitat restoration. Impact on aesthetic resources. I do say yes in here again, small, but again, the property is largely being preserved, so and it'll be under town ownership. There's also, just so you know, as we got from the I think I had heard, there's actually like hunting ground back there. So there was concerns from adjacent about these 2 lots back there to begin with. So.
Yeah.
But they'll be removed. Impact on historic and archaeological resources. As I note in the part 3 of phase 1A, 1B report was prepared by Tracker, February 2024. Nothing was found, and therefore no further archaeological work is required. Impact on open space and recreation. I did say yes, so it would be minimal, but again, most of the property is being preserved as open space, so I think it's pretty good design, pretty good compromise. Impacts on critical environmental areas. Again, this actually isn't a critical environmental area, Maple Swamp. But again, for all the reasons that we just said, given the reduction in the overall density, the elimination of a lot of density, and the wetlands restoration, I think adequately mitigates potential for 2 additional lots here. And then impacts on transportation, yes, but it would be minimal in this case, with only 2 new lots being created. No significant impacts on energy, on noise, odor, and light, on human health, and community and community character. We spent a lot of time working through this.
Oh, but this is a terrific outcome.
So I think we've got it to a good place. The applicant was advised to do a density incentive affordable housing project for this site. And, the issues got raised, and we're still gonna get the affordable units.
Right.
And we're gonna get most of the preservation. So
The 2 new lots will be regular priced lots.
Yes. And they're right on the highway, so,
Yeah.
Well, and the applicant can sell them.
yes, yes.
Are wetlands considered a geological feature? Just curious.
You know, because they identify water specifically.
They
and
separate it
geologic,
out?
They, you know, parenthetically reference dunes and stuff like that.
Okay,
You know,
interesting.
but it is interesting.
Yeah.
So with that, I'm recommending a negative declaration.
Okay. Motion by Gloria and second by Kate. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Congratulations.
And then, the next one is recommending that we deem the application complete and schedule the hearing for July 10th.
Which is
That'll
where?
be the fourth one.
Oh, for
Might be
this,
the third
for this application?
Yeah, change for, now I'm recommending that we deem it complete and schedule for July 5th.
Complete?
July 10th, did you say?
July 10th.
10th.
July 10th, that's
I
what
was
I'm
gonna
saying.
say, I thought I just wrote down 10th. Did I make
Okay.
that up?
Okay, motion to deem it complete and schedule a public hearing for July 10. Motion by Dennis, second by Tom, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor.
Yes.
Okay, that's
Thank you
it.
so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Just-
It'll be
Just
very
leave
Great
the
work.
easel.
Well,
Yeah.
much to your
Kristen
credit.
has
You and Jen
authority to buy the easel.
guiding
Can you
the-
order that one? Yes, but a sturdy easel that holds something? Can we always bring one up with a board like that? Because it's just terrific.
That one's very fancy.
I want the digital one where you press the button, all the legs come down.
Well, he presses the button and they go down and then
No,
they
my
pop.
Thank you,
automatic,
Jim.
you know.
The easel.
Bring it July 10.
Modern technology.
Okay, number 4, the estates at Remsenburg. Anthony?
So here, I'll explain this now, John, this should be very, very simple. Everyone's familiar with the estates at Remsenburg subdivision. I have it up on the screen here, this is a complicated subdivision. Actually, this is a good example of your perimeter open space, Dennis. As you can see, the board did it there. Script here, but, so this was a dedicated road into the town system as part of this subdivision. My understanding, he'll explain this, and most of this has already occurred and already has been addressed. I believe 2 lots have drainage associated with the roadway, am I correct? On the lots, that happened during the construction, and then the applicant had worked with Tom and the highway superintendent to address this. At the end of the day, what they wanted was an easement on those properties so they could go in there and deal with the situation. Okay? And so they were, those easements were produced, they were submitted, and they're ready for basically the supervisor's signature. However, we never had a planning board action that authorized the existence of these drainage easements, and then authorizing the supervisor to execute those easements. Because now that the road is in the town system, we need to get these drainage systems, into our ability to take care of them. So when the applicant worked with the highway superintendent and engineer to get these easements drawn up, that's how they rectified the situation. So this resolution, which does have a title there, wasn't told it yet. I know. It's not a great sign the drainage easements and any of that document. So basically, it says it's lots 12 and lots 17 on the subdivision map that are encumbered by these drainage easements, and that the planning board hereby approves the drainage easements and recommends that the supervisor more sign them and any other requirements necessary.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it.
Yes.
Mr. Trezza gave a great overview, so I won't belabor the point. I'm here if there's any questions. Yes, John Borkman of Greenberg Trowig, 2312 Main Street in Bridgehampton.
Thank you. Okay, any questions? Motion?
Motion?
By Dennis, second by George, all in favor. Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor, 1 absent. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Claire, North Sea Park,
Sea Park.
SYS,
So yes.
the cell tower.
Yeah. Wireless communication.
How are you?
Welcome back.
Welcome back, we're good. How are you?
Good.
Yes?
I got some color yesterday, so.
You did.
So.
Somebody wasn't in the office.
But I believe we want to do some more comments of the meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a proposal. This is town-owned land. It is the North Sea Park, which is what we had it under, because that's the site plans we had previously processed. But it also is the transfer station, was the old dump. There's also a highway yard on the property, so it's being used for at least 3 uses now, and this will be the 4th use on the property. The proposal is to place the cell tower on the corner of the entrance of the municipal yard. When you go in for the dump parcel, there's a cleared portion there now, and they're proposing the structure 149 feet away from the most front property line. And then it's got various setbacks to other structures that you need: residential setbacks, residential property setbacks. All those setbacks are met with this. Just want to overview like the big issue on this is, and that was the comments from the public, we'll go through that in the staff report, was the visibility on North Sea Road. Otherwise, I don't think there's a problem or environmental issue related to this section. Again, they're not
Major's
covering.
path.
Excuse me? Unlisted action.
Unlisted.
The visibility issue of Major's path, right?
Major's path. Excuse me.
That's the
Major's
issue.
path. Yes, sorry.
Who's the lead agent?
So, this is unlisted, so it could be uncoordinated. So that would be the first action. If you were to act, when you act on this, the first act, it would be to do secret. That's why I gave you the secret documents in the packets.
So can I just say something for the
Yes.
record? That this came to us as a town board project, already signed, sealed, and delivered without any planning board referral or input as to the site. The town deemed these opportunity sites and then went out for RFP, and it was all of that was done before it came to this board. And we have site plan approval, that is our mandate, and puts us in a bit of a bind because we see alternative positions for the cell tower. So I just wanted to get that on the record, Claire, because you provided a history of it.
But we're doing secret then.
Secret first, yeah.
Secret first, unlisted. But we have the option to do it to POSDEC, correct?
Yes, of course, if you feel like the environmental issues are significant.
Well, the project as proposed is inconsistent with the town plan. Major's Path being designated as a scenic corridor in the North Sea Hamlet study. So that's a major
Right.
inconsistency. But I haven't seen the EF, so I can't really comment.
No, so we have it. So yeah, definitely I have it attached. I didn't
So is
identify
this-
this as a scenic corridor, but Teresa, can you look that up? What? Whether this is a scenic corridor?
Yes.
Easy for me to
So
say.
is this the mechanism that we're using, is secret to make any modifications or recommendations? Shouldn't the town board have done secret?
The record
I don't-
shows a
I-
smile.
let-
Staff is smiling.
Let the record show.
Once for yes.
Yes.
It's an evil smile.
Secret.
Blink
before
once
doing
for
decisions.
yes and twice for no.
I just wanted to show
Oh,
this.
sorry, identify yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Okay.
Laurel Mooney. 4240 Oak Beach Road.
Oh,
Oak
with
Beach.
your
Okay.
company and
Tower
your
Point.
Tower
organization.
Point,
Tiger Devco LLC.
Tower Point,
it's, well, the.
Applicant, Tiger Devco, TIGR, DEVCO. And I'm Keith Keto.
and you are Laura,
Laurel Mooney, Laurel.
and
Keith Keto, yes.
okay.
So I know that Major's path is a concern, but because we did this so long ago, I forgot one of the reasons why the town had also chosen the property was there not only is it this parcel and the properties.
Could you hold it up?
Yeah, she has enough for.
Share one down here, that's fine.
It's been cleared, I see it back to almost like 1980 something.
So the round circle is, the approximate location. Then you have, town parcel across the street on, Major's Path. There's two parcels that run along the only area, so this is pretty much covered by.
Yeah.
It's a buffer to the residents on the, what is that, northeast, south?
It'd be the
West side?
northwest side.
Northwest side. Then along the other side, this is Old Town also, that goes along here. And there's also some small parcels, that's town and county property that also buffers. This is about a half a mile along this side. And there's about 1,800 feet below here.
On the south and east side.
So this is another town property that's below. So that kind of
Buffering the whole area.
buffering. Then you have, what else?
No, it's not, right? Is it?
Let me just double check the key, but
So this
doesn't
is
look like
almost,
it.
I think it's like
Think of the North Sea.
0.3 miles
No, you're good.
of coverage. And you also have the, obviously, the large parcel that also has a buffer area.
Okay, so let me ask you, when you did the study for this, I mean, the town gave you the opportunity site. You didn't come up with it, correct?
The exact location
Oh, wait,
or the parcel?
Both.
The
Both.
parcel
Parcel.
they chose,
Yeah.
and then we worked with them on the location.
Scenic corridor?
Hang on for
I'm
just a
sorry.
second.
This. This is the,
So on the east side is a scenic vista.
right, so, so here in this area, which kind of makes sense.
Oh, but you're saying the North Sea Hamlet study may have identified it as a scenic road.
Might have.
Okay,
Let's,
okay. We'll definitely
But
verify.
the overall design guidelines of the town is to maintain, I think in the general master plan is to maintain wooded, retain natural wooded buffers to the, the greatest extent possible.
In this location, we're not removing any trees. It's already a cleared area.
Yes, it's completely cleared.
Did you consider any other location on this site? For example, this is town-owned, okay? And something along the lines of, in this northern corner where there are no houses, that you could still access it by a road here, and you wouldn't have to essentially clear anything.
So yeah, this location was chosen because this gives the biggest buffer to residential
But
houses.
it's not, I mean,
To the northeast, there's houses all to the east and to the north.
the houses that are there are not happy with this. And so we also have to look at that, since we're a community board. It's what, 110 feet?
149 feet from the property line,
No, what's the height of the tower?
140.
It's a 140-foot tower, you're not gonna camouflage that, regardless of how much buffering is in front of it.
Well, were you guys given the,
You don't have to do that. Mike will pick it
oh,
up.
okay. Line of sight analysis, where we, was this?
I
Oh.
emailed this to them. Yeah, I didn't print it out. Do you have printouts?
I have,
I can get it printed out.
so, this is all,
Wait,
it's,
sorry, this is the wrong piece.
I have one more, so this is a full line of sight analysis, showing where it is visible from, so we did a total of 12 locations. How it works is basic geometry, right? Angle, and if there's something in the way, right? Trees are 65, 70, 80 feet tall, right? So to see this location, you're really seeing it only on Major's Path while you're driving. You have to look directly east. So if you go to the next page on, well, we just have 12 points where it's seen. And the comments, we didn't see the comments of where they were, maybe residents were saying where else to put it.
They didn't specifically say anything, just said interior to be away from.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I
push
think
it
that's a
back.
major
Yeah.
objection.
There's multiple issues with moving it east. The landfill, we cannot build on, right? The
No.
only reason the solar panels are there, they do not disturb the ground at all, right? Are the residents saying to move it closer to the active park?
No, they're just saying,
Get it away from
make
this.
it less visible. So where we're trying to work with you to try to look at an alternative location.
Well, we know we'll see the tower
Mhm.
wherever you would put it, but I think that the objection is that all this infrastructure, which includes the tower and the associated outbuildings, shed and fencing and everything, is plunked right along the road. What we're hearing is that this stuff has to be moved someplace else. We will see it. It will be visible, but it won't be along the major corridor
Right.
Into North, which Major's Path is a
Right.
major corridor into North City.
So the question is, where can we put it? We have
location that doesn't-
133 acres here. You know, it's
Is
not
there
like
another
you have 1
location
acre.
that doesn't require any more clearing, and that meets all the buffers?
Not with clearing. We're trying to avoid the clearing. We want to keep the trees, right? Is there opportunity to possibly move it more northeast within that already cleared area that will tuck it away? Because if you look right here, it's almost in
Okay.
like a harbor of trees.
Can you let go of that location in your head just for a second and look at the site? You've been to the site, you've walked the site. You don't clear that much for a cell tower. I mean, we approve cell towers where there's not that much cutting down of trees. It's a small area, and then you've got your mechanical box, which is what, 12 by 12 or 12 by 18, whatever that your base is.
It's a 50 by 50, which is 2,500 square feet, and a 15-foot wide access road.
You need a 15, why?
That's even for fire department, et cetera. So if something happens, they need to be able to get in. And it's actually, that's a
This
50
current location, there's already.
access.
Yeah, I know it has access.
And then it's a 50 by 50 fenced area. They'll need a turnaround per code as well. So it's a larger clear than just a,
Okay, I hear you, but Claire, I don't ever remember any cell tower that we've approved that required a 15-foot
foot wide
do not.
road into it. That's
Well,
what they're
15
saying.
feet is what you would do for
No.
any situation.
No.
For fire access.
Mhm.
It might be 14, right? But yes, clear.
Where that's there, we could do a pad right in front for the.
I'm just looking at the aerial, I mean, there's areas in the southwest, maybe corner opposite the SYS building, somewhere in the back of the SYS building, this cleared area that's underutilized. And I know there's a soccer field next to the tennis courts here, but adjacent to the soccer field, or maybe in the corner of the soccer field, behind the SYS building. And that seems very accessible with roads. I know there's a loop road around the SYS.
Think about that. This is town property.
Yeah.
There's
On
nothing
your-
here.
Down here,
Yeah.
this is SYS.
But you need 160 feet, 150 feet back from anything, right?
We wanted,
And
yeah.
There's
also, the elevation varies very much on the.
Yeah.
Steep.
And also network, you can't be, there's a Suffolk County Tower south of here. So now we're moving down and interfering with that tower.
What's the
So it's-
radius on that?
That's
It's pretty close.
standing
We're at
up
like
to this.
0.8. That is.
We're very, we're as
you
close as
can't
you
go-
could
yeah,
be.
Yeah, we can't go more south. And personally, this is an active park, so this is where people are staying for hours, right? And then when we see how this was really picked out, people are driving on Major's Path. So we're comparing almost someone playing a softball game for say 2.5 hours to 35 to 40 miles per hour with a viewpoint.
It's a 30-mile-an-hour road.
Okay, so there,
You know, so I see on the page too, you actually mapped out where you can see this from, but it could be interesting if you did a computer simulation of summer and winter driving along that road, just so that it would show people versus telling them exactly what that experience would be like, and then we could reevaluate how people are feeling about it.
Well, we had a picture in the packet.
Yeah.
With a tree in front of it.
it was a leaves off simulation.
Right.
Well, look, I don't think I don't think right here and now we're gonna pick an alternate spot. I think you've heard from the public, certainly heard from the board. This is a seeker action. The appropriate mechanism to explore these alternatives is through, DEIS. And that's provides procedure, provides public input, there's hearings, and I'm thinking that's the best route to go.
Good point.
Yeah.
Sort of
Rather than
situate
try
where are
to
we in
sit
the
here
I mean,
and
that's
with
where we
aerials and,
are.
hey, what
We're-
about here, hey,
you know,
what about there?
We have to follow a process.
You've heard from the public and you've heard from the board, and
Yeah.
the way you're proposing it is not
I mean,
gonna work.
I suggest that you go to the site again and see what's feasible for you. I mean, Dennis picked a spot, I picked a spot in the town-owned land way behind the solar field.
Simulate it, driving
This-
30 miles.
So this is, let's just look to the north, right?
To me, that's
Mhm.
pretty.
So this does have the biggest buffer to residential houses. This location does. We go more north, we will be closer to residential houses. That's it.
Keep
We will
going
be
back.
also clearing more trees.
Keep going back.
Going back, we
Yeah.
can't because of, it was an old landfill. So you can only get so close to that, right? With the how it's designed, leach fields, et cetera, right? So if we go to the north, we are closer to active residential houses. This is the largest buffer.
Where's
this
the
location.
active residential?
There's all houses right here along Major's Path, right here. So right here, we have a full parcel, full town-owned conserved parcel, right here to the west. If we go north, there's houses all along Major's Path and all along, what's the road to the north?
Great Hill.
And then back here too.
Yeah, and then there's houses all here. So right now, the house is on the east, the landfill blocks it, right?
There's houses back here.
If we go to the north, we are getting closer to the houses. We're also clearing trees and doing an access road,
This
right?
is higher elevation too?
It's, I want to say it's around the same.
Because if it's a higher, you could make the tower lower. Where's the closest tower?
0.8 miles south, it's a
Great-
300-foot lattice tower.
Great Hill Road.
Yes, there's two of them.
There's one on Great Hill.
Yeah, there's three.
And so do we need this?
Yes,
Yes.
carriers need, yes.
They just put a whole bunch more things on.
Co-locators?
Yeah,
That's
thank
saying
you.
we
Yeah,
need-
Perhaps if we had on record the alternative sites and what the pluses and minuses are, we could at least say to the community, look, we can do this, or we do this and it hurts this, or we have to clear, how much clearing do we have to do? This is no clearing,
We've
but
not had the
we have to see all
opportunity
that.
to review this at all before you came to us.
Yeah, we'd be open to,
So how about this? So see the wetlands and then the start of that. Is there a chance to go along the wetlands and clear that spot out and do it?
We have to check the,
Because that would still, I think you'd still be able to achieve, I'm looking at the aerial, this is what I'm looking at. Here's, if they can't go south, here's the wetlands here. So if they came north, like cleared this portion for access and then cleared their portion there, or tuck it in here, actually, that's where more I was thinking. So you could say, you could tuck it in between, this is the dump start, and then this is that wetlands, you can't obviously.
So you need to look at alternatives.
And then this, you could still possibly get the setback to the residential, which is,
Okay.
you're getting closer to the residential, no doubt, but could you meet that 420, which is the optimal 300%, with that, so.
I think it's useful too. I mean, we're looking at gray maps, small pieces of paper. When we were presented with the opportunity sites for the battery energy storage, basically they said, here's all the areas. Now, when we take out this limitation, this is what's left. And then we take this limitation, this is what's left. If you could kind of create a progressive, PDF even that could be displayed on the screen, I think that's a little more illustrative for us to go through and, in a methodical way versus sort of throwing darts at the board.
Right, so can I make a recommendation? That you work with staff and then go back to the committee from the town board that recommended this.
I was going to ask,
Right.
but you folks seem to have obviously been very involved. I don't know if anybody else here. I don't know if Claire, if you were involved or whatever at the.
No, Claire was not.
Are we kind of going through the process you went through with the town board? Was it a public discussion?
This,
You looked at options? Were these things all, are we reinventing the wheel here today?
yes, we had full public hearings. We did everything with the town board.
Have
for
public
this,
hearings on
yes.
this.
So.
And we have subleases, we now have legal
Leases.
obligations, we have a lease with
We're,
town.
we're kind of going through the process again when it was disclosed to us. It was like town board. That's why we did
We were
public
told that you
hearings,
guys were just
public
gonna tell us
meetings,
that
work sessions
we're
with the
adding
town
more
board.
trees or.
Yes.
I can't imagine the CAC was part of that process.
No.
It's almost like they just found this out now.
Yeah.
And,
Because, were there people who came to those public hearings?
overall support, there's massive, so I've heard there's massive support for the towers. Also, you can't, people can always, comment on everything, and we see there's support for all sites, right? And it's really just finding that middle ground, right? But we did go through this with the town saying, hey, can we move it there? They were against the clearing, so, and we agree with that.
Who did you work with? Who'd you work with on the town? Did you have a committee there?
They hired a
Len Marchese,
consulting.
town attorney, we worked with the town attorney's office and the town
board.
board. We've been doing this since RFP came out February 2023. So, and there was a lot of stuff part of this deal that is just legal wise. What we had, there was old agreements with the town, so stuff like that.
But
So
it
there's-
sounds like there wasn't a lot of community input from what we're getting.
Right.
This is their first blush. It's like, we're getting, oh my God, what is this?
We got a lot of
I
letters.
can't imagine that, and there's a pretty active CAC down in North Sea, and they're
Mhm.
following. I can't imagine that they would come to us in a surprised fashion like this, saying, what, we never heard of this.
Yeah, our resolution said that the community was in favor. I mean, we're
Yeah.
not making that up.
There were public hearings.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
well.
Was there a referral to the North Sea CAC in presentation? I mean, I don't know.
We can find out. I would assume the town board did. That's the community association just north, correct?
Right.
For this area. It's a community association for this area.
That's the advantage of coming to our board, because we have a
First.
standardized procedure of getting public input at a very early
on.
juncture.
Right.
And the town board, they've got
Right.
legal obligations, they've got a lot on their plate. A lot of
Mhm.
times it gets missed. So,
Plus, we handle cell towers all the time. That,
Yeah.
it comes to this board first.
Right.
You don't have any, it's not your issue, but I really recommend, Claire, that they deal with you and deal with the committee on the town board.
The visual impact is the most impact. And as Dennis is saying,
Yeah.
it's really about seeing the base when you're just
Yeah.
right in front of the property. If we
Right on
could
the road.
screen
And it's
some
100
of that by moving it further into the property.
It's 140 feet.
the
It's a
community
big
knows we're
tower.
gonna see this tower. We're gonna see this tower.
You need
It's
140 feet, not
Yes.
120?
No, 140 here.
Claire, can you also provide for us what kind of public community input came to the town board meeting?
Mhm.
Kind of odd,
Must
the
be
whole
minutes
situation.
from there, right?
It might have occurred during the budget process.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Ah.
Like, we have to,
That's-
like,
that's the
research this.
problem.
The
Yeah,
point
we
is
have to find out.
They
go
did
through
it.
the process, it was
Yeah.
sent here. So I think perhaps we don't
Yeah.
have anybody from the town other than Claire from planning to be speaking to the capital program or what they went through. But
they should maybe go back
Go
to
back
them,
to-
or work with Claire and
go
come up
back
with
to the-
something,
Yeah.
the community, the CAC, to see if they can compromise something that works better, or go back to them, the town board, if it doesn't.
Yeah, I agree.
There was even, the town had a bad deal with another tower developer that said that, they basically had,
Full rights on Old Town land.
on old town land. So the town also went through the process of
Removing that agreement.
speaking to, sending a legal
So-
notice to them, making sure that they didn't want to compete or develop something on the property. So there was like a lot of,
Yeah, that's why even this should
Moving
not, we should not be in 2025 at this stat, because it was that legal stuff we had to deal with for almost a year.
I can see.
Yeah,
You're
so
caught in the
that'll-
middle.
Yeah,
we totally
we
understand your point.
understand that. It's just that we are required to listen to the community and judge what makes the most sense based on real factual information. And it's hard without, I mean, this is the first time I've seen this.
Yeah, I think kind of building the case, to, for it to be all written up, okay, this was the first, time this was introduced, this is the process we went through, some kind of, map that shows the process of elimination, getting to that point. What was the actual input? Who made that input? And really present it in a methodical fashion so that we can get up to speed and know that we're making a good decision.
You're allowed to clear.
Yeah.
It's
I mean-
it's Aquifer Protection Overlay District.
What's that?
It is Aquifer.
Claire?
Protection
Yeah,
Overlay
but you are allowed to clear.
This is town land over here, right?
I don't have an area.
Yes, over here, town land, county land.
there's little tiny parcels,
But a lot, that
That
could
are
be part
town.
of the.
and there's conservation, I think there's a couple of
These are
parcels.
mostly around is all conservation from the public.
CPF
all-
or something.
This is
Right.
all, this is all file map stuff.
Yes, but some it's CP. There most of them are for parkland or some type of. You couldn't alienate it. You couldn't put the
Right.
cell towers
Yeah.
there. That's why this lot is
This is also,
a consideration.
they also worked with Janice Shear in finding the locations where there's not the CFA, is it?
CPF,
Yeah.
CPF.
Yeah.
CPF, yes.
Yeah.
Community Preservation
Yes.
Fund.
Okay.
I will say, I did ask, I said for the CPF, can we alienate? Because we've done parkland alienation.
No.
They said, no, you have to go all the way back to the state,
You have-
change that law
Yeah, they
to
have,
do
the
that.
state
and then-
actually has to
Yeah.
pass a law.
So, we did see, because there is CPF land, and we're like, hey, look, there's other locations that could be, but it's a whole nother process, I don't think, makes sense.
Okay, well, hopefully it can get worked out. So what's our process?
Oh, well, the deadline for this project is June 26th, so that's the next
next
meeting.
Secret deadline?
The deadline for site plan, but secra, that's a different story. A secra would be, you would consider, today would be like your start, and then 26th again, for a secret determination would be the 26th.
But we don't have to start, right? We don't have to do anything. I mean,
Well, you do have a site plan process.
Yeah, but we've not seen, it's,
We have to do secret.
we have
You have to
no,
do secret first.
We have to do secret.
As Dennis is saying, in this location, in his estimation, it's significant enough, it's a significant environmental issue.
You may,
Yeah.
I've
you may need
identified-
these again,
Feels that
so
way?
I will
I've
give them back
identified
to you.
Yes.
spots already in the just skimming it.
Yes.
There is no North Sea,
Sina Carter.
There's no North Sea Hamlet study. There's one for Noyak, but not North Sea.
There was a study, it was never adopted, I think.
so draft, it's not, it's
You've been
planning
around.
board adopted?
Because I'm
No.
sure.
Been around too long, Dennis, you know everything.
North Sea always gets the short end of the stick.
Okay, so do you want us to do
Except on
secret?
election day
And
when they all
that's the
come down to the
determination. If
community
there's-
house.
No?
I don't,
No.
no.
For the vote.
Allow them the
We have a-
opportunity to
yeah.
possibly find a new location. And if barring that, they'll come with you to the information about how they got here, right? I'm hearing that from a couple of board members.
Especially who and what kind of public support they got. If there was a wide
Yeah.
public support, we'd want to know that, because there are some voices speaking
That's
against
very
it. but-
rare with cell towers.
Very
There were
rare.
letters, there was
Yeah,
a lady called
a lady-
in, Skyping,
we had
there was.
there was lady called in, which is, it's odd for someone to come out and support because of the sport, you kind of just let it go, right? So we had, lady, there was a resident, long-term resident, lawyer, has 2 young daughters.
So I think just like organize all this
Yeah,
and
we
then
just need to know
present
what
it
the-
with the
what the
name, the dates, all the things in order.
Okay, yeah, no, that's completely fine.
We can do that.
Because that is a dead zone.
It's,
That's what, I mean, there was some comments to that too, and that's, about the dead zone.
Is there any kind of an antenna on top of the highway department building? Whip antenna or any kind of,
The existing one?
yeah.
No, they're not tall buildings, they're only one
They're little
story.
But is there
one
anything
story.
on it, like a tower, like you have some of the ambulance
Those whip
stations?
antennas, I see.
Yeah.
You know, those
Is there anything there?
16 foot.
Did you notice that?
what building, at the transfer station?
Yeah, the highway, it's the highway, what department would that be? Public
Highway.
Works?
And
Highway.
municipal works.
Municipal Works, and there's Highway.
Okay.
They're both there.
I don't
know.
think there is.
I can't answer that.
But are you saying that you cannot relocate this to the
To-
south at all?
Yes, because of where the other towers are located.
Okay, so only north is the only option.
So what happens if you're 8 miles away, you said?
We're 0.8 miles right now, so if we get too close,
From the existing tower.
they interfere, you just can't. There's, there's no need for it to go south. So radio frequencies will interfere with the towers. It's just, and I'm not an RF expert, but how it works is you can't just have 2 towers right next to each other.
But they're 8 miles apart.
No, point eight. Yes, and that's
So why
almost
do
the
we need
minimum.
this tower if it's 0.8?
We need it to cover north. And it's a very known dead spot. All carriers are interested. So
There are many dead spots up there. So I'm
Yeah,
sure a lot
so-
of public would be happy to have the access, it's just finding the right space.
So Claire's going to sort this out.
And now I'm thinking maybe on the municipal, going east of the municipal lot, and just say, hey, you have to give up, you have to carve that up.
Yeah.
Get your trucks to go around.
Well, that's their office used to be there, I believe. I don't think they're there anymore.
They put it's still active here.
Right, the waste management building.
So yes, but the waste management building I think is now used for something else. I don't know exactly. It was
There's no offices there. There are the mechanics in that building. I've been
What's
in
the
there.
head guy?
Oh, Ed retired. I
Oh,
think it was
okay.
Ed
His
Thompson.
office was there.
Yeah.
His office was there, but he's
Okay.
he's back. There's no administrative offices there.
There used to be offices
Yeah.
in there.
Yes.
My office used to be there.
Decades ago, right?
You must have been bad.
I was.
And again, you need about 1,300 square feet. How big? 50 by 50?
It's a 50 by 50 fence.
2,500 square feet.
50 by 50. Okay.
2,500.
2,500.
And we could do any type of fence that goes
And
around
the
it. We could also
50
do another
access
row
road.
of trees to block the
The base, the
compound.
mechanicals.
Yeah.
Okay. We have two things we could look into. Okay.
Okay,
So that's this one. No action,
no action.
No action.
No,
It's next
we'll wait
week.
till next week. 2 weeks.
Another round.
When they get to the next one.
We said
Stay
we like
right-
coming here.
Stay right there.
Smile were being mean.
Okay, so this is
You
the
understand.
Shinnecock
Shinnecock
Commercial.
Town
It's a
Fishing
different
Dock.
story.
I'm gonna keep one of these. Okay. Yeah. This one is property. It has it's OSC and RWB. The portion where the proposed facility is RWB. It is being used for the commercial fishing dock. Yes, it's an active property that's been improved over years. This is the
It's town property, isn't it, Claire?
It is
Yes.
town property,
Yeah, yeah.
town property, not parkland, so not,
No.
it's being used currently. What was I supposed to say? This is proposed location is that there is an existing building within, this would be immediately adjacent to that building. It is an AE zone, but on the border of BE. So they would obviously have to elevate any of the mechanicals associated, not the tower itself, but the mechanicals,
Additional
right?
8 feet.
Yeah, for the compound, yes.
So it's seaward of, so it is VVE standards, okay.
Yeah, it's seaward of the limit of moderate wave action, so they're gonna have to build to VE standards.
How many feet is that, Therese?
It's not a elevation issue, it's like certain construction standard requirements.
Uh-huh.
So,
To withstand heavy waves.
And flooding,
Well, definitely,
flooding.
Yeah, that
Major
floods-
flooding.
floods
I
all
mean,
the time.
The reports will tell you to avoid flood areas. Again, this is a opportunity site that the town found.
Was this one discussed at the same meeting as the last one?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're saying with the town board?
Right.
Yes.
I think it was handled with slightly different dates, right?
Resolution.
One was April, one was April, and one was October?
I think those were
Yes,
for,
there were different,
Okay.
yes.
there were a couple of meetings all together, and then for, I forget whatever reason, that the resolutions came
Okay.
different.
Well, I actually, yes, the public meetings were together for them, and then for the resolutions to get more details, they separated them by a little bit, because they didn't know how, they wanted to see how each one would go for North Sea and then Shinnecock pretty much, so they were just separated by just trying to focus on it, because I thought there'd be
feelers, I
a
think.
large discussion, so like, let's focus on one, and then,
That's
yeah,
right.
so.
In this area is like the other one in terms of size?
This one's
Shorter.
It's shorter.
Oh, it's 100 foot tall instead of
We're
140.
more constrained on size here, so just because it's active, we worked with the active commercial fishing dock. What can we do and not interfere? So it is. I think it's
smaller, 40 by
It's
something.
like 1,500.
Oh, 27 by 40?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I did.
If
I
had-
remember that.
It's a smaller compound and it's also a smaller site. So.
Now, did you explore other sites, or did you just go with what the town suggested?
So, I know the amount of town land. It's either parkland or CPF. I think I first met with Janet maybe 2019. So that was probably 6 years ago. I think I showed her maybe 60 locations. Immediately CPF, et cetera. For parkland, parkland's a bigger process. We're not scared of parkland, but there is parkland alienation, Senate sponsor, Assembly sponsor. This location, I remember I presented actually Ponnaquunk Beach. And long-term planning with Janice here said, no, it's parkland, we don't want to go that direction, right? And I don't even know if I even knew the commercial fishing dock was town property at the time, right? This was a kind of a surprise to us. It was the commercial fishing dock was town property.
So who recommended it? The town,
So the
this
town.
committee?
Town,
Yeah,
that would be with,
the RFP.
RFP, so it'd be.
So they wanted the development of North Sea and areas continue to suffer from service gaps as there is limited infrastructure available to fill the capacity needs to our users in these locations. And then
There's also, I even remember showing town property all along within Hampton Bays. You guys have random properties within there. And that, I probably have the old Excel sheet. It's a little proprietary. I don't know if I can share it all. But the multiple locations were shot there, just because of parkland or CPI, right?
What were the negatives raised with this property, any?
From what I remember, no. They're only positive.
the woman's name, but
She's wife of
we
one
didn't
of the
even-
captains of the boats. And they had full support from.
But in terms of,
But yeah, whatever group.
Well, there is a need, there's no
buffers.
doubt that people will support the need. The question is the location. I just want to ask you, do you only put cell towers in, or do you have other newer systems?
So like, you're talking like DOS systems,
Or small cells.
small cells?
Yeah.
So in the city, you could do these smaller cells, right? You put them on every corner, and that's just because we're in New York City, right? It's extremely dense. et cetera. And those are small cells with macro sites already built in onto the rooftops, right? So that's really just a capacity. They're solving capacity issues, right? These are dead zones in the topography here. You could say like, oh yeah, you can put the small cells. That's just putting a Band-Aid on the bigger issue, right?
You only get service around, you'd only get service, say you put it around Major's Path, it would just be along that.
So the reach is limited.
Extremely limited.
Then you're gonna have poles with equipment on it in front of multiple houses, properties.
It's like almost a mission critical site with fire department going on, carriers want it. If you have to, say you have all along Dune Road,
You've got telephone poles all along.
telephone poles, yeah. So that also helps the tower blend in with the telephone poles. But if you do, say you do 100 small cells along Dune Road, and in a hurricane, that
Well,
could.
first, no carrier, sorry, is gonna put money
Well,
into
yeah,
that
well,
infrastructure, but.
Yeah, I was talking even critically.
That's the economic part of it, right? You're not gonna get a co-locator on a telephone.
But this isn't like a capacity site, this is an actual, like a new build.
Yeah, new build that zone.
And so secret again wasn't done at the town board level? Did you go through the actual area itself about scenic zone, super flood site? Was any of that discussed?
They noted it, not officially in that.
Yeah, so this went through SHPO and NEPA. I believe the town started.
I'm not sure where it dropped off, but.
Secra is when you submit your
Yeah,
application
okay.
to us, but yes, Secra would be done by the town board before.
So we did full State Historic Preservation Office, NEPA, archaeology, environmental phase one on both of these sites.
You did?
Yes, we did full, and they all came back no adverse effects. Like SHPO, no adverse effect. State Historic Preservation Office.
Excellent.
So in my estimation, I gave you, just handed out the part two, it would be, again, visual impact. It's a 100-foot tower as opposed to 140. And then the flooding issue is being a big
But this
issue.
site is a designated scenic corridor.
Yes, that is true, yes. So it is, and on the edge of a scenic area. So the difference is that it's a scenic road, the whole thing's a scenic road, but west of here is a scenic area, which is the park, the park, open parklands. East of here and east is the development, commercial development, which is why it's not a scenic area, but visible from a scenic area.
So the red dots are all the scenic?
The red dots is the scenic, the designated scenic area. The blue lines outline the scenic road.
And so in this area, the dead zone is there, obviously, but the claim is for necessity for emergency services. So right now, the commercial fishermen are able to communicate with the Coast Guard that's right across the bay, right, with their radio systems, or they probably have satellite phones if they're going offshore. How is the emergency response conducted right now?
Volunteer fire department communication, yeah.
Okay, so it would be good for us to have that,
Yes.
like,
Oh,
on
yeah.
record comments,
Oh.
so we can,
So
just like build the case for
This
support.
is the tower there? This is the Coast Guard tower?
That's the
That's the Coast Guard tower.
Yep.
That would be on the other side of Pontotoc Bridge.
Yeah, on the other
Right.
side of the bridge.
We did get 2 or 3 emails recently, like yesterday, today, the last couple of days, in
Support.
support of this.
Yes,
From,
I
was
didn't
it
see any,
the
I
school
didn't see any
district?
negatives on
Maybe.
this one, right? We only got, because it was the fishermen and the people that
Yeah, no.
use the dock.
I think my only concern is we're putting infrastructure on a road at a site that's flooded all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm exaggerating slightly
No, I
with
hear
all
you.
the time.
Just so you guys
It's
know,
common.
we do have, other towers along beaches. We have Overlook Beach, which also gets flooded.
Where's that?
That's, Town of Babylon on Ocean Parkway.
Okay.
We also did Gilgo Beach, also along, Ocean
What do you
Parkway.
do to mitigate the problems?
We do the foundation differently. We usually do piles also and a mat.
All the
It's
equipment is
all-
raised.
It is,
What's the
it's all
width?
engineered.
Are those barrier islands? Are they?
Yes.
Yes.
And what's the width of the land?
The,
Well, a little wider.
yeah, it's pretty similar.
It's got Ocean
Yeah.
Parkway going through it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's wider.
It's much.
But it's
wider.
oceanfront.
Yeah, so the towers are.
It's right on the ocean.
And how often do you have to get to the towers? I mean, is regular servicing required, or?
So usually the carriers, all their equipment is hooked up to alarm systems. So if something happens or something goes down, they would send a tech out. No big trucks, no nothing. They just go and kind of plug in a computer system program, see what the problem is, and then from there, then deal with if there's a problem or not. If there's no problem, they're not there unless they need to change out equipment, upgrade equipment, which has been happening often. I'm sure you guys have seen applications because they're switching out equipment, 5G and all that stuff. For us, we go monthly to make sure the site is clean. We have we'll have landscaping companies and stuff like that to make sure that everything's kept clean. More so in the.
How are you going to access that when the road is closed? That road now is closed on a routine basis to the extent that they don't even take the barricades. Years ago, they used to bring the barricades in. Now they're just pushed off to the shoulder of the road. And I'm not talking about storms or windstorm. I'm talking about a sunny day in July. The barricades are up because there's 6 inches of water going down.
You have two bodies
How
of
do you
water.
access the tower when that happens? Are you going to get specialized vehicles, those big tire vehicles or something?
The fishermen are getting in and out
Yeah.
every day, right?
Maybe you
It's
lose
a big
service
problem for the
until it
fishermen.
happens.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm sure it is, but
They go with the tractor trailers, yeah. But
is that what they?
Yeah, trucks. My car can wade 38 inches of water.
Salt water?
Yeah.
Well, it can,
But
just
there's
have
also Sundays on.
You should
There's
see
two
my-
restaurants
I know.
also next
They're
door.
living.
So
Right.
we understand it
And
happens.
they're,
But
I mean, they are seasonal restaurants.
yes.
For
So
another reason,
Um,
that other reason.
And they were,
if it's a
they,
true
they were there.
emergency, it will be. You'll have to access it. If it's not, you just come back when you can access
As a
it.
town initiated, I mean, they have the evacuation, you've seen them, the big tires with the, have they developed an emergency, access plan? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, this area too, in the last big storm, which I don't remember the name, that dune actually breached.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you zoom in on it, you can see.
We have it up here, Claire.
You can see
Yeah.
the new dune that they created.
It's happened a couple
There
times.
was a plan afloat 10 years ago to raise Dune Road, but that made too much sense, of course, global warming. It's gonna be underwater in 20 years.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
they-
so that's our concern in terms of planning. But that
Just-
site, though, seems to be the only site with conventional towers for communication, is a major flood zone. And there are recommendations everywhere in the industry that say avoid putting a cell tower in a flood zone because of erosion of base, materials, weakening of the tower,
Access.
wind access. So, but we're hard fixed to say, okay, let's do it someplace else because you got Conquag Bridge, which is why I asked you about other materials. This is 55 feet up from water. Is there a way to put whip antennas along here? But this is County Department of Works.
Right.
So,
And it's,
and
its
what about,
pilings are damaged. And it's
Yeah.
got limited access.
this whole thing will collapse.
5 tons.
And so, and where is the bell tower, Teresa? The tower that you were talking about?
Oh, across there.
It's at the Coast Guard station.
That's the Coast Guard
Right.
station. So that's federal, right?
Yeah, we can't touch that.
And that takes forever or never?
To develop on federal.
When they reconstructed the tower at the Coast Guard station, because it's on federal land, they didn't have to get permits from us, correct?
No, no permits.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, going back to the station, the fishing station, just curious, does the county still have an interest in that, in that station? And do you
They
need that?
turned over the maintenance and everything to us, and I think that it's
They did.
totally under us at this point, yeah. For the last 10
Okay.
years, it's been solely, I think it's fully with the town.
If, you know, the town board had picked this site working with you guys, and obviously there's a town interest in this, maybe Ryan Murphy in public safety or somebody could address access issues, you know, under flooding conditions.
I don't know who controls that. Would it be the highway?
Might be police.
It's a whole, it's Office of Emergency Management and everybody.
Yeah,
comes together.
right.
It's
Ryan
all-
Murphy.
they all-
Exactly.
Right, just to
So
under,
you would know logistically how often that happens.
They do.
right, and
I
how,
can tell you every storm,
right,
they're all working together.
and how do they deal with it, or will these folks be able to deal with it, something, you know?
So both
All
of the
site plan
projects,
issues that are after the fact now, I just don't know how we deal with them in a procedural way. That's what I'm saying. I'm open to
there aren't any-
suggestions.
You know, look, if the road floods and you can't get access, then you can't get access, like every other resident, that, you know, if you gotta wait, you gotta wait.
Yeah, so that would
You
be
can't
on
get in, or
times,
you have
which is every
equipment.
6 hours from high to
You're not looking
low.
to do any site plan issues to modify the parking lot. It's a paved, it's a completely paved parking lot, protected by a bulkhead on the outside, and that's not gonna,
This is the revamped plan that the town
Pretty
wants
rude
to
away.
do, George.
sorry.
The town wants to redesign and revamp that whole area.
Elevate the road.
Well, you know, 20-something years ago, the Army Corps of Engineers, as part of the reformulation study of the South Shore of Long Island, they were gonna do a sand bypass station to bring sand from the east side to the west side, because that's the real problem. You look at that aerial, there's millions of cubic yards of sand which have been trapped on the east side
On the
of
other side,
Southampton.
yeah.
And various things happened that put a kibosh to that from the town and the county and everybody else, but if you had that sand bypass happening, you'd have a lot less problems here.
I thought the lateral drift was east to west.
No, it is, but
It
so
is.
everything's been trapped on the.
Everything gets scoured
on the
out
east
from
side,
the east and dumped
so
on
they
the
built
west.
out a couple 100 feet, and then what you're seeing there is all that sand that should be in that scallop has been trapped on the east side.
Right, so what happens is the sand gets sucked into inlet and then it forms these sandbars over here, which you can see here.
And they're gonna come and dredge it out.
And it gets put over here and then it gets scoured out and pushed along this way. So you'll see over time that this area grows and erodes back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it slowly moves down, you know, moves westwards along the coast from there. But the real culprit is that eastern jetty.
So that parking, that dock has been there a long time?
Oh, yeah.
And there's a road on that? Is there a road from the edge of the parking lot?
That's there's a pier that goes into the water. There's,
Yeah, and then,
That's a
That's
county parking lot at
that's a
the
county
end.
park
Yeah,
there.
this is county parking, yes.
along the.
Okay. So we have to move on, but I just am
This
not,
one, I mean, I'm not hearing, am I hearing not the significant issues on this one? Or you still want the information about how they got here?
So we're considering, our action for both of them is considering SECRA at the next meeting, right? But it sounds like both, there's so much discovery that we really need to do, so, you know, having a coordinated SECRA review is important.
Okay, so this one would be, this one is SECRA, of course, in a decision. If it's a neg deck, of course. But this deadline is the July meeting, because the hearing was only at the last meeting, so the first one in July. The 10th, right? Okay. Well,
and again, I think it's the same conversation that they have with the town board group that put this together.
Municipal Works, I think somebody from the capital program committee, Sano or somebody who we worked with, they should be able to provide you with all the how do we get to this point. They should.
Okay, so no action, Claire.
No action.
Thanks.
Thank
you.
you.
Get to the bottom of it.
I'm gonna be a little more red though.
Don't, put some
Yeah.
law.
No,
Good.
yeah, that's not my application.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Does anyone want to see the RFP?
we're 11.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah.
Jump to number
No, take those.
14, rezoning of certain parcels, board referral, number 14. Teresa, is that you?
That's me.
Yes.
Okay.
14.
Hey.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So, as you may know, the town has done some extensive work in Hampton Bays. We did a GEIS in 2015, 2016. One of the things the GEIS recommended was some change of zones, particularly east of the main street area. And the GEIS recommended that St. Rosalie's Church and the lot next to it were to be recommended, say, be rezoned to BB, and then from what is essentially the intersection of the LIRR to where King Cullen is, they recommended that those be changed from highway business to Hamlet Center commercial. Hamlet commercial residential. So the town board has had a work session on the potential change of zone, and they are having a public hearing on the 24th of June, and this is their referral to you, and you can see the map of the proposed rezoning. Presently, all of these lots are zoned highway business, and the proposal will result in changes that would allow for less intensive development and would allow for transition from a traditional main street to a more residential to the east and north and south. And then the new redevelopment in the area will be residentially scaled to allow for that transition to the traditional main street of Hampton Bays. So
What are the red dots versus the gold dots? It's hard to read. this
So,
map.
yes, I'm sorry. The red dots are the parcels, no, I'm sorry. The red dots outline all of the parcels that are subject to the proposed rezoning. And the blue lots are to be from HO to HC, and the two green lots are going to be from HB to BB.
Teresa, why do the red dots, when they hit the large undeveloped tract, why do they swing back down to Montauk Highway? Why wouldn't that large undeveloped tract be included in the proposed rezoning?
Because those are, I'll have to double check, but I do believe those are town open space lots. So,
Are they?
I believe so.
Oh.
Yeah, kind of an
These right
overlay?
here?
Yeah.
This is preserved land here.
Okay.
So it wouldn't matter
So
what
it's
they are.
There's like a little cemetery in there.
Yes, that's the, I think the placard says the Indian preacher.
So is the purpose to ensure less development in these particular areas?
It's to ensure less intense development because, as you know, HB, highway business, allows for quite intense development, whereas HC or VB is a more residentially scaled.
Can you make it-
that-
I'm
so-
sorry.
Go ahead.
Finish.
Well, so it would transition from the traditional Main Street, which is, from Ponquag to Springville, and then this would be that transition away towards the more residential neighborhoods immediately north and south and east.
Right.
And so it would be a smaller scale development, less intense development. We did some analysis. There may be a few parcels that become pre-existing non-conforming for use-wise, but a lot of them are actually going to be brought into conformance. The ones that are there are some that are currently pre-existing non-conforming, a couple of cottages, which would become more conforming.
So where is St. Rosalie's here?
St. Rosalie's is that first large green parcel.
Okay, good. And then the green next to it
There's
is
some
being
cottages back
changed to
No, that's being changed to VB. Those are
VB.
It's
And then the
barber
blues.
shop, and that other lot is a barber shop and some cottages. And the blues would be changed from HB to HC.
Right. I mean, it was done in Bridgehampton on Main Street and beyond, and it works really well because the residential theme continues
Right.
in the development.
So the resolution before you is, you're recommending adoption of the change of zone with some support comments in that it's supported by the GEIS and the comp plan, that it allows for less intense development and transition away from the hamlet centers and more residential scaled development.
And does this, if adopted by the town board, does this affect any applications that may be in front of the planning board now?
I believe there may be one or two, yes.
So do we then look at those applications with the new zoning, or do they, are they
Question
excluded?
perhaps for Christine.
Cannabis
Yeah,
retailer is in that zone.
I think we should have a comment in here then, don't you think?
Okay.
Number 4 would be.
Typically, it follows the zoning at time of application, right?
Yeah, right, that kind of thing.
So you wanted to say, I'm sorry, what do you want to say?
I was gonna say,
Clarify.
typically it follows the zoning at the time of their application, right?
So if things
So-
are in now, that
So,
would be
so
under
we
the
want
old
to
zoning.
ask if there's some, for clarification, whether an
Whether it's
application,
gonna be
submitted
grandfathered.
application.
Whether there's an exemption for pending applications.
Yeah.
Or
Good.
from
It's
a long
retro.
time ago, is if an application's in, you can't change the zoning on it.
That's what I think.
But we do need to clarify.
Right.
Okay, I
Hampton-
will ask for that clarification.
And Hampton Bays has a couple of very vocal participatory
do.
community groups. Do we know if they support this?
Well, they came out and supported the initial GEIS adoption. Whether they actually support this, I'm not sure. A public hearing is being held again on the 24th. As part of the requirements for the change of zone, we had to notify everybody within 500 feet of the properties. So
Good.
I spent a lot of time
But-
stuffing envelopes. Mailing envelopes. All right, so
Any
I'll
other-
make that addition to the resolution.
Any other comments? Okay, motion to adopt
Motion.
by Gloria, second by Kate, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor, as modified. Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.
Thanks. You were reading my mind, Dennis.
Oh, we have to go
What?
back.
You were reading my mind.
Thank you.
Okay, we don't have a lot of time. Anthony?
It's Ashley Caprera, we did the report last time.
Right.
Is that where we are?
Yeah, number 7, we're back to number 7.
So what you're getting, board, is both the draft resolution, the actual.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm
Martha Reichert for the applicant.
Did you take one of these?
I have, yes.
Okay.
So this is Ashley Caprera, this is the cannabis retailer at the corner of Willow Road and Montauk Highway in Watermill.
Thank you for explaining where it is.
And we did the report last time, had a lengthy discussion, it was an 18-page report for the cannabis approval. I gave the planning board a copy of the report and you weren't here, so gave you a copy. We're going to go through all the special exception standards, all the referral comments. We didn't really have many changes from last time. The only thing that I emphasized in there were things about landscaping that we discussed that weren't, honed in on, and some of the other things like cross-access and all that's been included. And then the second handout was the actual resolution of approval, which is what I'm going to go through today.
How did we handle the off premises, the sign Willow? Is that this one or was that
It
the
was
one?
the other one.
The one
And they
across
had
the-
already resolved that, actually. They're relocating that.
Oh.
Oh,
They-
there you go.
okay, great.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yay.
Yay.
So if you look at the resolution, the very bottom of page 1, it's grayed out. That's the resolution. It adopts the staff report dated June 12th, 2025, then approves the site plan application. It's grayed out because I have to list all of the maps in there. I always do it after the fact because there's a lot of maps to go through, so I like to make sure I'm getting the correct ones. So I'm recommending approval of the project, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, Changes to the site plan per the town engineer.
Where are you, Anthony?
Also,
Page two.
Page 2.
Oh, you're on page 2 of the
Of the resolution.
resolution.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
the engineer, and which has to be approved prior to signature. Per the requirements of the Suffolk County DPW as may be applicable or relevant. Just to clarify that, I specified, and I'll go through it, some specifics from the Department of Public Works. When I say per the requirements, for example, and I spoke to Martha about this, for example, the sidewalks are approving. Let's see that on the site plan. I don't want to see all the details and the construction methodology that the DOT wants, but just certain elements that make sense to the site. Drainage and septic to be relocated out of roadways or capable of supporting the heaviest apparatus. Show a 5-foot wide ADA compliant pedestrian connection between the public sidewalk and the building entrance with pavement marking and ramps where needed. Provide bicycle racks close to the building. These are both from DPW, by the way. Note existing trees and hedges to remain. Show a future cross-access with adjacent property to the west, so we're looking just here. This is the one property that we spoke of, which makes sense. And fencing and screening details for the dumpster need to be provided. Changes to the lighting plan. You have to ensure that the Kelvin.
Anthony, drainage and septic to be relocated. Are we putting in a new septic system?
I don't believe we are, but it was a comment from the engineer or somebody, so I just copied it. So it's really just the drainage structures, actually.
Yeah, just drainage,
So I
because
should fix that, actually.
the existing septic will remain. It's a fairly recent system that was approved.
So just drainage.
Yeah. Just drainage.
Thank you. Changes to the lighting, Kelvin not to exceed 2700, and the outdoor fixtures shall not exceed a height of 10 feet. Changes to the landscaping plan, again, note the existing trees and hedges to remain. Provide landscaping details adjacent to the parking areas, 4-foot high row of evergreen bushes. Indicate replacement of existing landscaping in front of the building and provide landscaping details. I think last time you said that's the area where you're gonna focus on some new landscaping. I think you decided that we didn't have to really obstruct any more use of the property. See that the ARB and the landmarks of where it's
The fact that we could see the building.
Yeah, no, we're just gonna add landscaping around the perimeter of the building. There's existing landscaping, but it's pretty, meh.
On the
Correct.
lighting plan, do we need to
There's that
mention dark
privacy.
skies or
It's
dusk?
in the resolution.
Oh, it's in there,
the
okay,
general conditions,
thank you,
yeah.
okay.
The general conditions, so submission of a safety management plan demonstrating compliance with all applicable state and local regulations to keep customers and employees safe. Plan must identify measures to prevent unauthorized access, deter theft, prevent loitering, and ensure safe handling of cash, and include measures such as secured entrances and exits, sufficient interior and exterior illumination, a security system capable of 24-hour recording with date and timestamps, backup power system to ensure operation during power outages, and strict procedures to verifying age. Everyone.
I'm assuming that's coming right from our code or
That's
from
from state.
State.
And the Office of Cannabis Management, both, yep. B talks about the security and code compliant lighting on site to ensure the safety of person, theft and other crimes. It needs to be sufficiently illuminated per, the regulations of OCM, but in any case, be dark sky compliant. Areas to be covered by security cameras include, but not limited to, dispensing areas, storage areas, all doors, parking lots, and any place where a new product is delivered. The applicant shall take all necessary steps to discourage and correct objectionable conditions, such as uses in the parking lot, sidewalks, alleys, and areas surrounding the premises. And adjacent properties, such conditions including but not limited to smoking, creating a noise disturbance, drinking, loitering, and littering. The applicant shall submit copies and licenses of all permits that have been obtained from the New York State Office of Cannabis Management in accordance with all applicable state and local regulations. On-site consumption of cannabis products is prohibited. Drive-through window service is prohibited. Delivery services shall be subject to the same hours of operation as the on-site retailer, which are limited to 10 to 9. That's in the code and the regulations from the state. 2 EV charging stations shall be provided. All signage is subject to planning board review and approval. All HVAC mechanical systems shall be screened to not be visible. L is the design of lighting shall be dark sky compliant. Tom, there you go.
Thanks.
And then the installation and use of dusk dawn lighting fixtures prohibited, and no additional lighting on the property without planning board approval. And all lighting shall be shielded downward, not spill over into adjacent properties. Submission of an affidavit demonstrating compliance with all the site plan conditions, attaining the required permits and approvals from the town highway department and DPW prior to the issuance of any building permits. Arrange for a pre-construction meeting with the town engineer prior to starting construction. Number 5 are to be completed prior to signature. Town engineer approval of the final maps, submission of the future cross-access agreement along with title certification and mortgage consent if applicable. Notarized affidavit indicating compliance with the conditions of site plan approval, and then the submission of the 6 sets for signature. And then number 6 to be completed prior to the issuance of a CO is a maintenance bond for a period of 2 years.
For landscape.
Landscaping, yeah.
You're going to be taking down that shed, is that correct? That's on the,
Yes.
do we need to say anything about revegetating that area where there's been a demolished building?
Parking and everything.
It'll become the parking lot.
Okay.
And there's opportunity for the cross-access indicator to be there, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere in that area.
Yeah. We'll double check and make sure, see if anything was done here. I don't think anything was done. So it could just be an open-ended future cross-access that we could always locate when the time comes. We do that very often. But we'll take a look at that case.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Nope. Any questions?
No, just I want to thank the board. It's been a journey.
Well, we're all
This is the first full approval, right? On the can-
So, motion to approve, Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. You are approved, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Martha.
I think that's our first.
I also want to thank Anthony Trezza because he was a wonderful planner and helped us, guided us through the whole process.
The best.
He's great, we agree, thank you. 2 trees, Anthony, number 8.
Yeah, so just so you know, I spoke to Kieran about this. She's actually granted an extension until the next meeting so I could work on this resolution because we're dealing with the covenant amendment and the site plan. So she was gracious enough to extend it to June 26th.
Anthony, do we know if the violations have been cleared?
They can't until we act on the.
Not all of them can be cleared until they get their full site plan, but I can tell you that the area has largely been restored to what it was supposed to be.
Okay.
The engineer has said that.
Christine, can they erect the fencing that we're requesting around the easement areas?
I don't know, I have to see it.
Can you discuss it with Christine?
So do you need a motion for?
Yeah, we have an extension to June 26th.
Motion by Dennis, second by Kate, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Excuse me. Number 9.
You're having a hearing on that tonight.
Number 9 is off.
If the board, I have an applicant here for number 16, if we can do that. And Will Shapiro might be on Zoom, if he didn't give up.
This is 152 Noyak Path.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, how are you all?
Thank you.
So, board,
Tired, right?
Sorry for the wait.
No, that's
We get
listen.
energized.
Everybody remembers this property.
Yes.
We had a nice discussion. We did the pre-act report last
Yeah.
time. And then I met with Joe LaPiana. Is that how you pronounce your last name? I want to make sure I got it right. The report, it didn't close the door for a covenant amendment or a 2-lot subdivision. It just raised some issues. The applicant just wanted to come before the board and just make some more points. He met with me to discuss the Rothman Dynasty covenant amendment that was done. That was a 2-lot subdivision.
Yeah.
I think the idea is that Joe wanted to see if there was any support for the planning board to really, provided that the conditions have been met, to consider it a covenant amendment, in light of the 5-acre zoning that it would comply with, unlike some of the other ones that we looked at, 2 acres, 1 acre zoning. And I think Joe just wanted to really make his case to the board.
Yeah, and thank you. So, it's interesting sitting here because hearing everything and all of the proposals and all the presentations, considering, and I made a list of the covenant that was lifted from the Dynasty property was a 2-lot subdivision. There were significant wetlands and issues with that were problems. My property has no environmental impact, no agricultural impacts, no road or traffic impacts. We had a public hearing. No one made any comments. None of my neighbors were opposed to this. And just to be clear, the current property is 10 acres. The main house would sit on its own 5-acre parcel with its own garage with an existing driveway. And then the pool pavilion and tennis court would be the other 5 acres that would be part of what we're proposing as lifting this covenant. Within the context of the 5 acres, there's a septic, a well, electric, a road, everything is already there. So when I'm listening to some of these other proposals and the amount of red tape and the amount of impact that is being sort of submitted to sort of create these subdivisions for 1 acres, 2 acres, I'm just proposing, I'm not looking to, with a 10-acre parcel, say, oh, okay, I want 10-acre lot, like 1 acre lots times 10, I'm just wanting to lift a covenant that was on the original deed for whatever reason. And like I said, and then there was another one on 325 Rose Hill Road in the last 2 years that was also lifted. The
No
covenant.
further subdivision, is that what we're
further
talking?
Subdivision, which was more complicated as well. And go ahead.
Just when the previous pre-app report, this is interesting because you asked this question, Dennis, at the first time. The previous pre-app report, when they talked about no further subdivision of this lot, they had raised the question to the planning board is because they weren't sure at the time why that was done. So it was raised in the pre-app report, and they raised the question was, the applicant or whoever should look into whether or not the covenant was meant for a major subdivision, because you pointed out a lot of times they used to say no further subdivision without a major subdivision map, which was what the implication was at the pre-app report the last time, but they never came fully to that conclusion. But I wanted to at least add that to the board. The other side of it is, speaking with the applicant's attorney, the other side of it is that 5-acre lots could be exempt from health department, just so you are. Well, once you are 5 acres or more, they stamp approve the map as exempt. It's still a health department stamp that has to go on a map to be filed, but they exempt 5-acre lots because the presumption is that you can meet the separation distance from water and any other on-site. And so health department approval is required, but they do an exemption for the map. So that was the additional information.
So why is that covenant there? Why?
I have no idea. Maybe I think because the original parcel was 16 acres. And the person I bought it from, there were 2 other houses that have 3 acres and 3 acres. And then
They were carved off?
Well, they were part of the original whatever happened, years ago, back in 2007. But I think that maybe that's why, in fact, there was a covenant on it, because I think that maybe there was a major subdivision plan. This is not a major subdivision. It's, taking a 10-acre that already has infrastructure on both lots. And even for the Board of Health approval, there's already a septic and a well, because the pool pavilion is really like a structure with, like it's a big, it's not just a pool, it's a structure that's sitting on the property. So, and it makes more sense to have that be part of its own, because when you come into the cul-de-sac, maybe can you show, can you zoom into the cul-de-sac where, please, the drive right there. Okay, so that cul-de-sac, is that the cul-de-sac? Yeah, that's the cul-de-sac that goes to 1058, and then the tennis court is to the all the way down. So you need to go down. Hang on a second. Go zoom in more, but down at the bottom, and then zoom. Keep going, and then pull this way. Okay, yeah. So if I can point out, it's hard to tell, but like right here, right there is the intersection of the house that you see with that tennis course and the house, and then that long driveway takes you up to the main house. Now, the pool and the tennis is what I'm proposing to have be its own 5-acre lot, because there's already septic, there's already well, there's already electric, and there aren't any curb cuts or any traffic. I mean, the cul-de-sac and the driveway that goes to the tennis court is where the egress would be for the new house.
Here's the thing. One of the governing principles here is clearing. It's in the heart of the APOD.
We're at 11%. We're way under
What's
clearing.
10 acres allowed cleared? What's the existing parcel allowed cleared?
Probably, what's the lowest?
I think it's like 28%.
It's either 15 or 20%.
Right, so I mean, in raw numbers, will the creation of that second lot allow you additional clearing beyond what you would be allowed otherwise under the 10 acres?
That's why when I went through this process, that's all on the survey, and we're at 11% right now for that whole property.
Right.
But
So-
I think what Dennis is asking is the totality of potential clearing
Potential
one
clearing.
lot as is versus two lots.
2 lots.
When you get a
let me
second lot, it
so-
allows you additional clearing.
Yeah, and that would be a positive thing, I
You're
would say.
15%, just so you know. Dennis, is 15%. Once you're 200,000
1.5
square feet.
acres,
comes
60,000
down
square
to
feet.
numbers. If creating the second lot doesn't result in any additional clearing, you might have to
What's the
constrain
clearing
the
for
second
5
lot
acres?
Right, but
beyond what you would normally be allowed.
Right, and I think that that's a positive thing, and all I'm saying is the covenant, I don't even know why the covenant exists. So I'm asking that the covenant at least be lifted based on covenants that were removed and lifted 2 years ago, one being a property with significant wetlands and all sorts of, environmental issues, and these were my notes that I made. That's why it's like, I prefer to just be here myself as the owner, because I know my property better than anyone else, and we've gone through the process. This has been going on for 1 year already.
Can you explain to us what it is that you want to do and why you want it lifted?
Okay.
In simple language.
Yeah, of course. So essentially, like I said, most property in the area are 2 acres. It obviously adds value to my property by being able to lift the covenant, and considering I'm not, I see so many egregious.
No, now you're going off
Okay,
the rails, okay? You just want to divide this parcel into 2 lots, no more.
Right,
And why?
And why?
He
Because
wants to sell a parcel off.
right.
for-
I mean,
for
and it's a
revenue.
5-acre parcel that already has
Here's what's
infrastructure.
gonna be helpful for us, is if you give us the numbers of what your square footage, not percentages, square footage, what you're allowed to clear in the 10 acres, whatever, forget about what's
Those
cleared.
numbers already.
Square footage of what you're allowed to clear in the 10 acres, and then square footage numbers of what you would be allowed to clear on the 2 5-acre parcels. And if the numbers are close, I think you could probably get over that hurdle and go forward with the subject. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I do,
Yeah.
And then
It's gonna be helpful
Not-
for the board.
Not all that information is on the maps as he's asking for it.
Doesn't have to be on the map, just a
No, you want the
schedule.
numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a letter or a schedule.
Because
Just to help us understand.
If they're equal, then the APOD is not being,
Violated.
is being violated.
Yeah, but in other words, so we're not, by creating the second lot, we're not allowing additional clearing.
Yes.
That's probably why the restriction was put on, because the APOD is restrictive for a reason, to keep vegetation for everything, for the
My
aquifer. for-
neighbors on everywhere, they have lawns that run
Well,
and cover
but
the
we're not
entire
talking about,
property.
we're not talking about them now.
And there is no clearing. The only trees that I have cut since I've owned the property in the last 2 years were the beetle dead trees that were in risk of damaging my, the structures, which is why the insurance companies would insure me.
Right.
I've spent close to $60,000 or $70,000 just for the sake of having insurance and covering my property. There's not been one tree that has been removed that isn't dead. There's still dead trees on the property.
Okay, so we're trying to give you the rationale, probably why the covenant was put on.
So give us those.
So you show us, do a sketch, 2 lots, and you have a house on 1 lot, do you not?
Yes. Yes.
Well, just numbers,
Give us
percentage.
the percentage
And
of
one of
the
the
clearing.
hurdles to help you
Clearing,
get
that's
to where
all.
you want to go is even if you're over, say, I'm willing to constrain, even though I'm allowed additional clearing I'm willing to further covenant and restrict the clearing on these lots, so the aggregate is not greater than what you're allowed now.
And there's an existing tennis court. If you just said, okay, let's scratch the tennis court, that's already been cleared for the tennis court, and you build a house on there,
Yeah.
it's access to the road, it's right there, so.
Well, Anthony will work with you.
So
Yeah.
this is
So
about,
that's like, there's.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah, there's give and
that,
take.
that's a driving force is the clearing.
It's just
up there.
frustrating for me when I'm sitting here, listening to all of
You
these.
shouldn't sit here.
I want to sit here. I'm learning. I've learned so much by sitting here, because when I hear all of the obstacles that have to be met in
Yep.
order to meet these subdivision criteria.
Yep.
And people are subdividing properties into 20 lots and 10 in their 1 acre parcels. And, I'm like, oh my God, I have a 10 acre parcel, and all I'm asking for is an amendment to a covenant that's a 5 acre parcel
And-
where everything around
And
me.
you still have trees, so count
Beautiful
yourself
trees.
blessed.
Right.
it's just, so if we subdivide it, then another home can be built.
Correct.
You're saying
I
you
don't
won't,
plan on-
none of us
yeah.
are gonna be here forever.
Right.
One day there will be another buyer.
Right.
So,
The planning board would be approving a building lot.
yes.
But it still doesn't mean that he will exceed the clearing. We have to get the numbers from him.
The numbers and then it says you can also.
Under cleared now, he's under cleared now.
If it's
so
more, you can
let's get the
covenant it
numbers
to say
from
that.
him.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All
Come
right.
back anytime.
Yeah,
It's,
Come on back.
I had a tooth extracted yesterday, so I've been like, I don't know if you've ever had that done. but it's-
Oh,
Was this as bad as that?
That's not fun.
It's barbaric. I don't understand why. Yeah, to pull someone's teeth. It's just so.
I had it done a couple of
it's
years
the
ago.
nature, it's the nature of being
Okay,
human. Thank
see you soon.
I'll wear a sweater and
Yeah.
Okay, Anthony, the Wilderness Trail, what's happening with number 11?
Motion.
A motion by Dennis, second by Kate, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Jane?
We did that already.
Yeah.
Secret determination.
Consider making the secret determination? Why is this back on? We did this.
We did that.
No, we didn't.
Jane
No, we
Frith?
didn't.
Frith, you did.
Yeah.
We did it as part of the site plan.
We did it as this, this is another,
As
it's
part of
on
the
again.
subdivision.
Where did Anthony go?
For what?
He has Jane Frith on here second time.
You did two actions at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
then
Deem it
12 is
complete and
done.
set hearing.
Then we're talking about
Area.
13.
Area, I don't know how to
T
say it.
area.
Yeah, this is just a distribution. We're gonna talk about it at the next meeting. This is the report from your consultant on the traffic for this project.
Okay.
Okay, I know which one.
Are these the 3 buildings on that one lot?
Yes, and so the one thing is that, I do think these are addressable, so I did give it to the applicant so they could be prepared to talk about it too, at that meeting. Okay? And we'll have your consultant at that meeting on the 26th.
Okay, and this is where Tom questioned the classification.
Right,
How intense the piece was,
yes,
Exactly.
yeah.
Okay, so that's it for distribution. We did the town board thing. Now Connor Freelander?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Number
you said next
15.
meeting?
Next meeting. 26th, yep. Freelander.
Carl, please,
Carl.
give us your name.
Carl, please give us
Even
a
though we
name.
know
We
you.
know you.
Carl Benincasa, 860 Montauk Highway, Watermill, New York, for the applicant.
Amanda Giraldi, Eris Design.
Good
Landscape
afternoon, everybody. Good to
Good
see you.
afternoon.
Good to see you again, Carl.
Good to see you.
So Connor is an application that you did a pre-app for a couple of years ago, 2 years ago. They submitted a preliminary application, but then asked to be put on hold because they were processing the.
Well, it was really to sell it to the town. The town didn't make an offer after about a year. in
But
that
for the
process.
whole thing?
We were selling the whole thing,
Did not make an offer?
except for the,
You wanna come up here?
Yeah, this is Greg Conn.
Pull up a chair.
So sorry, except for the parcels involved in
There's a chair, you wanna
the
grab?
Bud Hampton application,
Right. Carvel.
the Carvel parcel.
So you offered it to the town for purchase. That didn't happen.
They just got back to us after about a year of
may-
appraisals and everything and said there was no offer. Now, that's option A for Greg. So we've gone back and said, reconsider this, perhaps bifurcated an affordable housing and preservation. So they're doing that now.
They are.
Yes. But we were surprised that the initial response was no offer. We don't want it.
Right, they came to, well, may I stay?
Yeah, sure.
Greg Connor, applicant. So the town came to us and said, for years they wanted to buy it. We were not willing buyers, sellers. So eventually when Mrs. Moore became supervisor, Carl and I went to her and said, look, we're now willing sellers. And they said to us, okay, keep 3 acres in the front because we still want commercial and we'll buy the balance. I said, great. This was last May. Time goes by. They came back to us a month ago and said, yeah, we're not interested. And we had pulled it, so we didn't cause all kinds of public horror.
It's not like we couldn't agree on a price. They wouldn't put any offer on
They
the
wouldn't
table.
offer it. So then.
So it takes a willing buyer on the other side.
It takes a willing buyer
Right,
too.
exactly. So then we rekindled it a little bit. They came back and they said this and that and whatnot. So they're still looking at it, but I told them I want to go forward with my application because I can't wait any longer. So that's why we're here today.
Okay, so we have a
allowed to-
plan
what the
for
reason?
all of this. Does that,
They
yeah, that's the
no,
plan
all
that
they
still
can say is
exists?
They don't
Nothing,
know offer.
except that we've carved out Buddha, Bud Hampton. Sorry, Bud Hampton. That's a carve out.
Let me refresh you on the last conversation we had about Carvel before it was going to be Bud Hampton. 'Cause
Yeah.
That's the building.
Yeah.
So the question was posed by you that what's going to happen with Carvel? So the same thing is going to happen. If this gets straightened out and we do a subdivision like this, then Carvel will eventually come down and I'll move it into where the site plan allows it because otherwise it's kind of an outlier in front. It's a pre-existing non-conforming.
So you wouldn't move forward with Bud Hampton?
Don't get excited.
No.
He's moving Carvel to the new development.
We are moving forward with Bud Hampton.
Oh,
The subdivision would create a new lot around Bud Hampton.
Right, this
that
is
would
one.
not, that would only expand the size and expand the setback, so it wouldn't impact.
So you'd have the ice cream.
So it would be consistent.
Right, so anyway, so that's where we're at.
You
And
have
that's,
both.
and that's why we're back in front of you is
No,
because
we just the second stuff, just not the not the ice cream.
No, he offered ice cream someplace else, right? You said ice
no,
cream.
Carvel has
I
always.
mean, they're pretty symbiotic.
No, I have. Oh, we have all the jokes, right? The gummies on top of the ice cream. I heard them all.
So I'm confused. So what's happening with Carvel?
Carvel is that site plan's going forward as is.
Okay.
Right.
Carvel
This
is
site plan
Bud
is just going to
Hampton.
be placed, this subdivision is placed on top of it, but it doesn't impact your site plan.
Separate parcel.
No, that parcel's included.
See, so
But I mean,
what do
it's
we
a
do
single,
for,
ownership is of the Carvel parcel. Is it part of this that says?
we can't segment Secra to do Secra. We can't segment that parcel out and say then it's suddenly included because that's fragmentation.
Well, it
No,
is
it's
out.
not, it's,
Is it Carvel parcel single and separate?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Single and separate.
but it is involved in this subdivision.
It's utilizing infrastructure within this subdivision. It's coordinating all the roads and access.
Correct.
But
But it's not really
It's-
one of the lots.
it's not one of the lots in this subdivision.
Can't be.
It is one of the lots. of the
Or I can segment it out.
if you want to segment it out. So this section, 5,
Claire's making faces.
encompasses part of
Oh, so you're expanding that? Okay.
expanding.
Gotcha.
So it is involved in that sense.
Right.
The lot lines, we're not keeping the lot as is. The lot lines would
Oh,
change.
okay. Expanding.
I don't know.
Friedlander owns.
If you think that's a bifurcation of Secra,
I think it can be, Carl. I
Got
think it's
so then
very
we should
tricky.
wait on this
Hold on a
application.
second. I mean, where are you? Aren't you at public hearing stage?
Done.
We're done. We're waiting on, we've closed the final public hearing. The written comment period is ended. We're just waiting on the final
We
approval.
haven't started secret yet. They've got some time on the subdivision. This subdivision's not gonna be
Okay,
by the-
processed.
but Hampton, I mean, they have to do infrastructure with the lights, with the access road, with
going
all
forward
of
with that.
that, and then going forward. So I don't know how we incorporate it. I mean, I'm just trying to understand.
I think this would just be a subsequent application. It wouldn't be considered
just pretend, like saying that you've approved a site plan, now we're working within that site plan application. I
Yeah.
don't think, I understand that if it was prohibiting something from happening, right? Like the roadway going in or something like that. But in this case, you're gonna do secra and you're considering this is a development that you've approved.
With all of the
All of the
requirements that we
conditions and the
put in.
requirements, yes.
Yes.
That's
So-
what it should be.
So that wouldn't be a
Right.
bifurcation.
Right.
Because that is approved and in stone.
Just
Yeah.
like it, just pretend it's built
Yeah.
like that. and
So
that's
what
you're
stage,
working.
what's our action then on?
Well, I was going to
That's
say
the
coordination of secra, but Jackie rightly pointed out that the wetlands was from 2021. So we just need that refresh.
updated.
So I spoke to Marty an hour ago.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm very familiar with the property, hand him the application, whatever the renewal would be, he says he'll take care of it right away. Well, and we know Marty, we all love Marty.
Yes.
I don't know what right away means. But he like he said, I spoke to him just now, and he said, no problem, I know the property well.
He'll do it.
He'll come out and he'll do it. Now, it won't be next week, I'm sure of that, but it won't be September either.
So what is our next?
What's our
item?
action?
The preliminary application.
Incomplete.
Right now, it's incomplete.
It's incomplete, because the wetlands
Or
have to be
you, or we could
upgraded.
hold off and wait till we get the,
I would say incomplete. Let's just put it
Yeah,
off, then we're not waiting for that.
And
then
are
they
we
get new
starting from the
plans.
beginning or
This
because,
would be the preliminary application.
but you did a preliminary pre-submission
You did a
report,
pre-application,
pre-application in 2022.
and it was refreshed to 2024.
Yes.
Right.
And the application for preliminary was submitted in the end of 2023.
Well, I didn't do that, so.
No, that was done by Arias, right? Yeah.
Right, and then it was put on hold.
The
Then it
application
was-
for
because of the whole-
preliminary was in
It was
22.
withdrawn.
No, the application, the
You withdrew it.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, you withdrew it and
I
then
remember withdrawing it, but you had a preliminary in or a final in?
preliminary.
preliminary, yeah.
Okay.
We didn't go that far.
Yeah.
And the town knows that you are moving forward, your plan is to move forward.
The town, the
project.
preservation part of the
We
town.
have told them that this is our
At-
option B.
At our Zoom meeting last week, I told them I cannot wait any longer. I must move forward. I have a partner. I have my family's involved. I couldn't wait any longer. And they understood because they know if they helped me up for a year or whatever, a little bit more actually. So and who knows, maybe they come back with an offer that's, okay, but we have no idea. They wouldn't even give me a hint on what it might be.
I mean, I love the idea that there might be some affordable housing, because it's
Right.
a good spot. I mean,
It's a
well,
great spot.
The strawberry
you haven't
fields.
been here very long.
Oh, yeah.
we had they wanted to put affordable housing in here. The town wanted to do a I want to say a sponsor PDD, and the world came out.
Yep.
And their cousins.
I think,
Do you remember?
but I
Gateway.
think the community
Yeah,
has,
that was like
has changed a little bit.
I hope so.
2013.
No, it was
Keep going back to the
Yeah.
big box bookstore.
Oh, that's that one. Yeah. So you remember the world came
Yeah.
out, and hated
We've
it,
been there,
right?
then he went out.
And we all know it was not a very pretty thing.
I do think that the community in general is much more amenable to affordable housing, because nobody can stand the traffic anymore.
And that's what I said to Ms. Moore when
1
she
hour
first
and
took
32
office.
minutes.
Exactly what I said to her. I said,
Yeah.
Ms. Moore, this is a perfect spot for affordable housing.
Look at all the,
It's adjacent to
all
a
the
Hamlet
people that
Center.
work in the
Public
commons.
housing, public transportation, the commons,
Right.
the road, it's perfect.
That's one thing, but to say
That's
that
in
the
Virginia.
community is going to come out and embrace affordable housing.
No chance. I might miss that meeting.
I might call in sick on
I
that
came
one.
for the Bud Hampton one. I got butchered there. I'm just gonna.
Sit that one out. Go on the Zoom. there, Greg.
It just builds good character.
So let's.
I got lots of character.
That way.
And it's called democracy.
Yeah.
I'm for it.
Good.
Yeah. No.
The-
Look, I've been part of these process for many things over the years. I'm used to
But
it.
the initial consideration was for preservation, and that
Right.
there was no offer made.
It's amazing.
So are we deeming this incomplete then?
The
Or?
preliminary application.
Incomplete.
Good with that?
And then we'll wait, yeah.
And the maps come back with the new wetlands line, then we can start the secret process.
Okay, do you have any of those documents, the original one that you could send to us, Claire? I mean, I might have a file on it that I saved,
You mean the
but.
pre-app? Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, there was
so
two
you all want
pre-apps
that,
on
right?
this.
Who wasn't on the board then? David
I
wasn't
was
on the
not.
board.
22?
I was here.
Tom
I
was
was
here.
Yeah.
Traffic reports done, environmental.
Dennis, were you here in 22?
All, everything.
I think so.
1922?
1822.
That checklist is checked off.
So you send the pre-apps to you?
Oh, maybe
before-
then.
Sure, no problem.
Pardon me?
Okay, great. So deem that
Oh, I thought you
incomplete.
were, sorry.
Motion to deem this incomplete by
Motion.
Gloria and second by Kate, all in favor. Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Okay, well, this property is found.
Well, I don't want you guys to forget me.
No, we can't.
How could
That's
we,
right.
Say hi to your mother.
Stay in touch.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Carl.
Okay, Seth. Seth, we have you. And I wonder what for. Did we sign plans, Gloria?
Yes.
So, 19 and 20, 1931 Bridge Site. Hello.
There's two different resolutions there, one behind the other.
We're looking at the bridge site.
Is there anybody at the desk?
Oh, wait.
Number 19, we're acknowledging the signed plans for 31 the bridge and 20 ML Bridge. That's 19 and 20. So we're left with two
Re-veg.
projects
that's
with
it.
Seth.
The first on the agenda is Rolling Hills Estates, Section 1, Lot 43, 42 Laurel. This is in the APOD, is an R40. I have two copies of this if anyone's interested. I'll lay them out. So this site was, a small addition was put on to the existing dwelling. And the contractor tried to preserve as many trees along the edge as he could. He was able to preserve most of the trees, the large trees. And it is a fairly small lot. It was 22,051. He did, unfortunately, clear a little bit too much. He had cleared 2,885, or I should say exceeded his clearing limitation by 2,885. So the construction is over. They did maintain the area in the back. You can see that the natural vegetation, for the most part, was maintained. And he has used the existing large trees that are along the border, going out to the road to put 11 more trees, 57 shrubs composed of verbenum, bayberry, inkberry, summer sweet, and 500 plugs of grasses. Usually, I think the sedges are the most called out there, the broom and the Pennsylvania. I did like the fact that it went up to the road. I realized it would be probably best to have it beefed up on the back end there. But I've had a lot of problems in this neighborhood, and I'd like the rest of the neighborhood to see what is required. Maybe a little bit of a learning lesson can be each one of these. Really, the neighbors need to know that they're going to have to re-veg if they.
Yeah.
I must say that Seth holds people's feet to the fire with these plans, and that's really great, Seth.
I'm trying, yeah, we did have to go through a couple different editions of this plan to get to a better array of plans. That's a common phenomenon.
Yeah, people use 4 plants and multiples of the 4 plants, right?
Yes. So I did present you with the draft resolution, calling for this site to be put back into conformance with the APOD regulations. Propose we adopt it.
Okay, you're happy with it, right?
I am.
Good.
Motion.
Any questions?
No.
Motion? Did you say motion, George?
Yes.
Motion by George, second by Kate, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor.
That was really me, but that's okay.
Was it you?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Next time I'll say Gloria when you do it.
So we'll
Bridgewood
move
Lot
to
71.
Sagaponic, to the Bridgewood subdivision. You may recall that Bridgewood has an 11,000 square foot clearing limitation. So this one came in for a building permit. Subsequent to the building permit being issued, the entire lot was cleared. At which point a violation was issued, but the damage had been done. So they have their building permit. It's just cleared And actually, unfortunately, they even cleared past their own property line, went into the county a bit and into the town a bit as well. So the numbers don't jibe for the amount of clearing, but that's because they're also going to be revegetating areas that they had encroached upon.
Do they blame that on the contractor when that happens?
Oftentimes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they're, being Sagaponic, the size of the house is quite extraordinary. A 7-bedroom home is proposed for this triangular site with the pool and the deck.
On a
So the square-
17,000 square foot lot.
Yeah, so
What's the size of the
A
house?
third of an acre,
it's a tight lot.
wow.
11,000 square foot
Did you
of
do you
clearing.
have a
That's what they
layer that
cleared.
shows what it was like before the clearing?
Oh, this was one of the last or vacant lots.
Is this Daphne's application?
Is Daphne here by any chance? Oh.
Yeah, Seth,
Well, that's why they cleared it,
you're saying it's in Sagaponic, which is,
because they could
Yes.
never,
that's a village,
never get
that's
a
not.
house in there without.
The
doing-
unincorporated portion of
The
Sagaponic.
unincorporated site.
The unincorporated.
Yes. I do have the revegetation plan here. Daphne is here to speak to the application as well, Daphne Vaughn. If you wish to ask any, but. So with that building in mind, I can just kind of put these about. We do have a revegetation plan that brings in
Okay, we'll share it.
the required native species, which would be in this case, we have quite a number of trees. Let me get to my notes. 31 trees are proposed, and then an assortment of shrubs and grasses.
Are they going in before the building of the new building or after?
That would be, I asked for it to go in afterward.
Yes.
I
'Cause they'll
mean,
just
as it is, it's a
wreck it.
constrained lot. I mean, not so much anymore, but.
Do we want to see the house and the proposed infrastructure overlaid
so.
into that to see
I
what
mean,
it
I do have,
intends?
Yeah.
So that's clear.
Yeah, that's good. But I think we should wait till the building is done.
yeah. Daphne, can you speak to that, perhaps?
Yes, well, so the building department, as Seth said, approved this project as shown on the survey with these really tight clearing limits. So then they went to clear the lot to excavate, and it's just not practical. So they have to restore this, and as you can see, in order to get it to comply, things are going to have to be right up against the pool patio and pretty close to the structures. So it's a very weird shaped lot. It's basically a trapezoid. This is, I think, one of the last lots in this subdivision, as Seth kind of spoke to, that is being developed, and that's probably likely why. So they are going to plant, we're showing basically a bunch of oaks, inkberry, chokeberries, huckleberry, and winterberry, which would all be standard.
We're losing your audio.
Oh, can you hear me?
I think he turned.
Very
Just-
faint.
Sorry, it was getting blown up before. I'll fix it.
Kevin,
Oh.
yeah.
Thank you.
It's not Kevin, it's
It's on our end.
Peter.
Yeah, so basically we're showing restoration of this tight envelope with a bunch of native oaks, 2 dogwoods, I think I'm showing, maybe 4. Mostly inkberry, chokeberry, huckleberry, and winterberry. Native woods and understory vegetation.
But
that
our
would
question,
definitely,
Daphne, our question is, the house should be built first and then the.
yes, 100%. I agree that it would
Otherwise, it'll
be
just get
The one
trampled.
possibility is we could revegetate the county and the town land.
I think that
well,
would
the
be
town
wise.
land, it's a very small. I have like 1 tree and 2 shrubs
Yeah.
in that.
Well, you
little
could do
town.
that at any point,
Why don't we
right?
get that done and then we'll
Yeah.
come back to it?
see any county
It's really
land.
unfortunate though, because if they were following our process, right, they would have, they would have had to put in the project limiting fence, and they
No,
probably would have had to.
That's just when we do subdivision. Town
Because
didn't
it's already
have that.
completed subdivision.
This is a building permit.
This is a building permit.
Yeah, so the little guy.
Right.
So was this, Daphne, I asked Seth of this, was this a contractor oversight?
Yes.
Wow. Come on, let's live in the real world.
Well, contractor is who owns the property right now, and they're the ones that are developing it.
So.
So that's what happened,
I
basically.
think we should get the public lands revegetated first.
So I am totally in agreement with that, but in my discussion with Seth, he had said to me that he did not believe that the planning board could approve the revegetation of the county properties. I did have a plan that showed that, and he asked me to revise it. I mean, they will still do it, but I don't know that. I guess
I mean,
maybe we could-
procedurally, Christie, do
Yeah.
you know? Can,
If I may, I had asked her to
Sorry.
remove it as we have no jurisdiction
Yeah.
over that land, and for us to approve something on
county
the
line.
county land, I thought would maybe not a great idea. It doesn't mean it's not included in the actual square footage. It's there to be done.
Mhm.
But I just thought maybe we didn't need to.
Between them and the county, and them and the
I
town.
said, you need to deal with the county, but we will definitely say, we definitely want you to
That-
revegetate.
yeah.
Is
Yeah,
the
that
county
makes
aware of
sense.
this? Is the county aware of this?
I don't, that's.
Can they be aware of it?
And who would make them aware of it?
Exactly.
I thought we would kind of do it in-house. Again, I don't know what the proper procedure would have been.
This is unusual, so I don't know either. We'd have to look.
All right, we'll get a direction on that
Okay.
as to how
Maybe
best to
just make a
proceed.
referral to the county
You know,
and ask them if they'll relinquish jurisdiction.
A referral it is, okay. And the town land, that's been,
Same thing, right? We can
Well,
do
the town land it's very minimal. It's in the back area, and like I said, we are showing it in our plan because we figured you definitely have jurisdiction over that as town property.
so we'll do that at the same time that
Yeah.
we're doing the whole vegetation plan
So we'll get some more clarification then.
for the county.
so we'll adopt it with the condition that we,
Well, why
Refer
don't
to the
why don't we
county.
hold off and get a clarification? They're in no rush, obviously. Don't want to build the place.
They have their building permit.
Well, I think they have stopped
They have their building
working.
They have their building permit.
Oh, they have their.
Yeah, so
Oh.
I think we
Go
should
build?
adopt it as
Okay.
a
We're not
just.
stopping them
I
anywhere.
thought they
Yeah.
were holding up building permit.
All right, let's adopt it with the addition of the county referral.
okay.
So, any other
Do we have
questions?
to refer internally to CPF or something, just to?
Not CPF, no.
Considering the magnitude, it's,
Very minor.
It's just a small piece of the town.
Yeah.
There's a lot more in Suffolk
tree and
County
two
land.
bushes.
Bushes, so
Yeah.
it's minor.
Looks like there's a lot more planting
So
on the
how does
Suffolk
that
County.
work in terms of the penalty for
There's none.
over clearing?
There's no penalty
They
because
pay
we
a
don't,
fee or something?
we have not adopted the tree legislation yet.
They ask them to pay a fee
Mhm.
in justice court if they've gotten a violation or something, but.
so the notice of violation was issued. Usually, the applicant comes in within the 30 days that they've been allowed. The moment they open an application with the planning board, I am to I'm to tell code enforcement that we're now working together.
To
We don't need to
remediate.
go back and issue a court summons or anything along. If they don't come in, then there's a chance for a fee, but
So their fee is the
They
cost of
get
the
the 30
planting.
days, that's written into the code, they get 30 days to cure.
Mhm.
And we, that's a good faith.
Mhm.
We're not trying to punish people, we're trying to get them into compliance, so if they do
Exactly.
it, if they don't, then there's a fee. We're going to court, serving papers, all that.
Okay, are we in agreement here?
Unfortunately.
I know, so a motion to adopt the re-veg plan on Bridgewood Lot 71 by Gloria,
Yeah.
second by Kate.
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 7 in favor. Any add-ons or anything? No? We've done
Thank you.
everything?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Dennis to adjourn, second by George.
Yeah, sure.
All
He's
in
out of here.
favor?
Aye.
Abstention, 7 in favor, we're adjourned till 6 o'clock. Turn off your mics, please.
Let's see
You
how
have to
long
go,
it takes me to
George.
get. Thank you. Let's see how long it takes me to get.
Hope there's a helicopter waiting out in the
I have
field.
no idea.